96.1 and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also keep up to date with everything going on by keeping up with Sports 56 on social media. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch for information on breaking news, chances to win prizes, and video of all the shows. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 on social media.
The Vargas family, legendary Memphis restaurateur, starting with Mr. Charlie and continuing today with his grandchildren.
Brett, it just dawned on me the other day that while Memphis is celebrating its bicentennial, the Rendezvous has been here well over one-third of Memphis's existence. But we're not a place to rest on our laurels or reputation. We're always trying to add new things to make our customers' experience more enjoyable. Friday lunches have always been special because we give away our red beans and rice. But we are now adding a sausage sandwich.
John, we first got a taste of it at the golf tournament.
It's the same sausage we serve on our cheese and sausage plate, but it will be served lengthwise on a bun with beans and slaw on the side. We've also partnered with a company called Devillet out of Dyersburg to introduce a new sweet glazed mustard with Rendezvous seasoning in it. It will really go great with a sandwich. I still recommend adding slaw. As I've mentioned before, my grandfather had a hot dog stand on Beale Street in 1916, and that's the same slaw he used. So here we are now 103 years later, and we've come full circle using his slaw on our hot dogs. Hope to see you this Friday at the Rendezvous.
In the alley in downtown Memphis.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, and Brett Stats Norsworthy.
Welcome in. Nice to have you aboard on this really nice Thursday afternoon. A little chilly outside, but heck, we had snow when I got up this morning on the rooftops.
I missed it.
Come on, you didn't get up that late. You never get up late.
I didn't look out.
I drove through all the sleet.
I didn't know about it. Oh, you did? How bad was it?
It got bad for a second.
Bridges
a little
and
bit.
overpasses?
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't do a donut or anything?
No. The roads were fine, but the sleet coming down, it got a little bad.
You didn't look
I missed
outside?
I missed it.
First thing I do is look outside.
I didn't. You know, years ago, you'll remember it. I think it was the Monday morning after the Bears and the Colts Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, that day the sun did not rise.
Okay. We were in the morning, and I don't know why, but I watched the Super Bowl, and I watched all the post-game reaction. I was telling our buddy Chuck Galena this story the other night. He fell out dying over it. I watched all the reaction to it. Well, I don't watch any local news. I know nothing going on. Go to bed. Wake up the next morning. I have to be here at 8, so whatever time I got up, I don't turn on anything other than like morning national TV and more Super Bowl rehash. Get dressed, grab my briefcase, open the back door. It's like 8 inches of snow. I can't get out my back door. And I called here, and Eli called you. I said, I'm about to be from home. I can't get out of my driveway.
I'm going to tell you.
I had no
think
clue.
What we need to do is looking out your back window, your back door, or your
That's
backyard,
the best weather forecast.
Your
isn't it?
backyard is a picture window. You see what's going on. I bet you there's birds flying out there in the spring.
Big red cardinals.
Big red cardinals. You would really get a good fit. You need to do that. You need to put a window.
That really is
so that you can see.
That really is
what's
the best
going on.
forecast. Is look outside.
That's what I do. I walk right by my hallway and I see the world
better than AccuWeather.
And I know.
You know, the bird world. It's something. You know, all the male birds are the brightly colored, kind of pretty
That's
birds.
Right. You know where I learned that from? Remember the musical Hair?
Oh yeah, long beautiful hair.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Tigers won last night,
They
Dave,
did.
and we said yesterday that was the objective.
I think there was
That's
a
why you play, isn't it?
collective sigh that could be heard from fans when finally the game came to an end. It has really had some moments this year. There is no question.
Never
of
easy,
that.
is it? That's one of the truisms of sports. Never easy and never gets old winning.
The bottom line is this team can't stand prosperity, even if they're the much better team. When this
team needs Bruce Sutter or Raleigh Fingers. It needs a good closer.
It needs somebody.
It needs Mariano
with
Rivera.
Attitude that kicks them in the butt is what it needs. When you're up 16, they just thought the game was over, and they didn't even learn from the first half lesson because that thing got cut to 6 at the half, and then they go up 16 with 16:46 remaining in the game, and they stopped playing defense. That, to me, was the biggest thing. I've heard people talk about the offense. Granted, they took some silly shots. They didn't necessarily stay disciplined in that regard, but to me, the worst part was they thought the game was over, and they stopped defending hard, and they allowed the Pirates to shoot 57% in the second half. Really
pretty
higher
torrid streak
from that particular 16:40, whatever it was, left. That particular moment is they probably shot 65% at that particular moment. It was not a fun thing, but if we're going to look at this half full instead of half empty, I'll say this. The last 3 games, they didn't make the plays at the end. They were not mentally tough down the stretch. The Tigers gave this game that 16-point lead up, and it was tied. But they never gave up the lead, and that, to me, was the critical key at the end. They were mentally tough enough to withstand it and finally to win a game that they had to have. And believe me, they were feeling the pressure after they blew that lead because you couldn't lose 4 in a row. You couldn't lose to a team that had a net, what did I say it was, like 215.
Oh, no. Could not lose lose that one last night, and they didn't. And you play to win the game, as it was famously spoken about by Herm Edwards one time, and they did. And now it sets up a really big one Saturday, one that if the Tigers can win, they'll be the underdog. They'll be a home underdog Saturday, but they can win it. It makes up for both of those road losses last week.
I don't know that it does that.
Goes a long way.
But it goes a long way.
Tigers' net dropped with winning last
They
night.
would have to win every game the rest of the way. They'd have 23 wins, and they'd have 2 wins over Houston, 1 win over Wichita State, 1 win over SMU, if they were to pull off the string. Then I think they could get in as an at-large. That's wishful thinking. I just want them to win 4 of the 6, and then they'll have to probably run the table in Fort Worth, but I think they still have a shot at least getting a bye for the very first game.
Especially with what else occurred last night around the American.
Well, SMU lost, and they were behind big in that game at New Orleans, so Tulane finally got a win. And, Cincinnati has just been flirting with danger, and frankly, I think they're a very fortunate team. I've told you, I don't think they're a healthy team. I don't think Keith Williams, who's a really good player, is solid. I think he's got some health issues. I think he's got turf toe. And then Cumberland, who's their best player, and by far their best player, and was the reigning player of the year, it started with a toe problem, and now it's a heel problem. And I don't know what he did last night. I did not look at their box score, but I was watching my telephone as our game was going on, just keeping up and hoping that they would lose.
Dave's the multitasker, isn't he?
Isn't that something? Yeah, I'm so tech savvy.
I knew
man.
you would be.
I'm so tech savvy.
I didn't bother you during the game last night either? With anything?
Well, that was kind of you. And I must commend you. If people don't know, I will tell them. We had a phone issue yesterday, and you two guys, Drew, you two, this compliment goes to you. You guys carried on as if nothing was wrong. And I can tell
we miss you
from
Dave.
doing a show
beginning
in 1983 that when you have no phone lines, this sort of thing is not new. It's happened forever. Do you know there was a big storm?
You got to be ready for Plan B.
And this is, before I even get to Memphis, it's in the early 70s. And one of the great voices of this town, and one of the great teams of this town, a guy named Fred Cook was doing a thing called the 0 Hour with John Powell, Cook and Powell. And
I love Fred Cook.
I did too. He was the guy that I would go to for advice, and he always gave me really
His
good
son
advice.
is in our listening audience and usually comes by when we're at the golf tournament. That's the only time I ever see him. He usually comes by.
Brian Cook, yeah.
And he knows of our deep appreciation.
Well,
his father.
he was one of those that actually helped my path.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe that. And, boy, he loved baseball. He would sit on his Hind Park little porch, drink a little bit every night, and listen to the Cardinals. He loved baseball. He loved listening to radio and gave me a lot of tips on play-by-play.
The PA announcer at the Coliseum.
And forever the PA guy. One of the great voices. But he and Powell were doing a show, and it was a sort of a call-in show, and it had big band stuff, so it's really old. This is early 70s. And honestly, they had a storm, and they had to do, and they were doing 4 hours in those days, and they were doing it in the middle of the night. I think their show started, it might have been 5:30. And they had to do it for a few days because the storm had knocked out a lot of stuff.
Dave, we did it in this market in 94.
We did.
Now, in 94, everything was leveled for about a week, and nobody did anything for about a week. And then that slow climb kind of back out of it, I mean, it looked like a bomb hit around everywhere around here. And then that next week, it was nothing. And into the next week, I mean, it was long form radio for about a week and a half. And, you know, you have to. I was telling Drew yesterday one time that it occurred here. It happened on the 5th of July, and it was a Friday. Well, you know, that's a slow day. That's a slow day for guests wanting to join. I mean, it's a slow day. And you and George both were away, and I had it all by myself, and it was that day. Not only that day, because of it was a huge thunderstorm hit. Not quite the windstorm like in 2003, but a little micro kind of that.
That was brutal.
Yeah, 03 was really bad.
That was so bad. I had two houses affected paying double notes. I'll never forget that.
I remember that. And 03 was a lot of long form. But this particular storm hit, and it was internet only and couldn't go to break.
Couldn't go to break? Oh, my goodness.
Couldn't do anything.
Lord.
But you just sit there and jabber away.
But you guys did carry on well. And by the way, just so you know, because you were on the air when I did this, I gave you credit for the little nugget that you found.
You did?
I did.
Thank you.
I lost the bet, didn't I?
You did lose the bet.
Oh, good. I hope it's dinner at Folks Folly. Make him pay.
I lost the bet. I said, "You're not getting any credit."
I did. I gave him.
Last thing I said walking to the car last night, wasn't it?
It was.
I gave him credit. It might have been while you guys were walking to the car because it was late in. I said, you know, that for those that might be wondering, because I had asked it aloud, can a team who has lost a 40-point game, because that's not easy to do, can they come back and make the tournament? And frankly, I was surprised at the number. We only went 5 years deep. So if we go back, you got to figure those are probably about the same numbers you get every 5 years, right?
Probably run pretty
nine
close.
times in 5 years. But the one big common denominator was that you had to go through and win your tournament to do it. I do think if Memphis ran the table, that they would not need to do that.
I don't
either.
either.
One in the 5
Dave,
years
I think they'd be. I think they'd be in with an at large, because y'all tell me, and I want our listeners to weigh in on this at 67129 at the First Bank text line, 360-8255 First Bank phone line. I think it's going to be a wildly entertaining March Madness. It always is. It never disappoints.
Oh, there's no question.
But this year, with this wide open feeling to it, is it mediocrity or is it parity?
I will go back and I will tell you what I said a month ago, maybe longer, that I think a 6 seed is definitely in line to win this tournament this year.
Dave, I so agree. I swear, somewhere in my notes for today, I don't think, other than the uniform color, and we know higher seeds wear whiter, tanner, lighter color uniforms than the lesser seeds, you're not going to be able to tell an 11 from a 5 out there this year in this tournament.
I don't think it's necessarily total mediocrity. I think it is more parity. But I think that we do have things working against us that will make this become more of the norm. Because the star power that you once had, the Wisemans, the Balls, the Hamptons, those guys aren't coming anymore. There's going to be probably 20 a year now. The top 20 will probably try their wares somewhere else, at least initially when the one and done is over. That may all shift when people find out, we're going to go to the G League for $35,000, ride buses, playing ballparks that 400 or 500 people are in. Oh, and by the way, I can't find a friend. I'm 18 and I'm competing with guys who are 27, and they're going to kill me to try to get my minutes. That is not going to be a great experience.
Amen.
I
Dave.
can tell you that.
And you go to college and you go to a holiday tournament over Thanksgiving and you stay in one of those 5-star plush hotels in Lower Manhattan, and you're drinking $15 room service freshly squeezed orange juice, and there's enough food to feed an Army when you go down
Right.
to the morning buffet. That contrast over clanging around in a bus from Wichita to Peoria, they're going to have to learn.
No question. And really and truly, how many in an average class, you can even give me a good class, how many are ready to go at 18 years of age from high school ball to the NBA? Now, I know it's a futures market, and there will be guys that will be taking chances on players now. You know, I think Wiseman is probably one of those guys that could have played right away. I don't think Hampton could have. He's having trouble in New Zealand.
That's right.
Okay?
I think Wiseman.
How many guys per year? I'm going to be really generous and say 3. That's exactly
three.
right. 3. So
About-
that means
in a really plush
if
year.
20 go, 17 fail.
Yeah. And let that get around. Let that be, Dave, when we first had, it was Moses Malone was out there really by himself for a long time. And that was a big story to go from high school to the pros, to the ABA. That was big. And then in just a few years later, it was both Daryl Dawkins and Bill Willoughby. And Daryl Dawkins, they both years-wise made it in the NBA, but their careers really never flourished, never really took off. And then it was a long stretch of people not wanting to try that because they were scared of, not that Dawkins sure didn't fail.
No.
And I don't know that Bill Willoughby failed, but it did not, it was not fulfilling.
Tell me, Kwame Brown.
I say he made it.
Because he lasted a long time.
Got a bunch of checks.
But you know who lost? The team that took him.
Yeah, and his development was always inhibited. It was never.
He was a guy that really could have
never
used
fully flowered.
He could have used some tune-up early, and I think that might have been better
So
for
we're
him.
going to have guys. It's human nature. Some people fall through the cracks.
The only thing that would make me change my mind about that now is if indeed the G League gets unionized, and they're talking about it, right? And they really pay them a fair and good living, and I don't think they'll do this, but make the travel a little more first class. I don't think they can afford it. And here's the other thing. The NBA could go, you know what? We got a ceiling on unionization here because we are willing to lose. And I promise you there's not a G League team making money. We're willing to lose X amount of money.
But
we're not willing to lose quadruple X or quintuple X.
X is one thing.
Yeah.
Quintuple X is quite another. This hour brought to you every day by our friends at Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all those beautiful 2020 models and always special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in one of their cars as well. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. 901-362-8833. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, we'll dive into that in a little bit, and that is, of course, the Tigers' victory, the escape against East Carolina. So here's the big story. Did you know the Big Three is coming to Memphis? You know, Ice Cube's half-court league with former players, and they're lowering the age from 27 to 22. If you're a former player at 22.
What's the date on?
I don't know how that
What
could
night
be.
they're going to be
I
here?
think it's June 20th. It's Saturdays. They're going to be here for 6 games before, I guess they go to New York City for postseason. And
June 20th.
Not only do they have these former players come back, and it's kind of exciting. They have different formats. You can challenge calls, which they did in the All-Star game. But there's big-time entertainment. So this is a cool addition. 6 Saturdays during the summer. If you're looking for something to do, you got some cool basketball coming to Memphis.
My top story, Grizzlies and the NBA back at it tonight after the long NBA All-Star break. I sure hope LeBron got some rest. He's always so tired. Tonight, first of a scheduled for the Grizzlies back-to-back.
Were you sincere in that?
I'm very sincere. I hope he's rested. He's always so very tired.
He's a busy guy.
I know he is. That's why I want him rested.
He's got a comment about baseball.
Oh, we got to wait, but nothing about China.
Oh, no.
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 Can't do
I don't
that.
even think he's mentioned coronavirus.
No, you can't get near that. But he can weigh in on everything else, and he's got to get rested up for it. And we want him to because we see him tomorrow night in that second of the back-to-back. But if you have to have a back-to-back after the long break's a good time. Tonight in Sacramento, tomorrow night against the well-rested, we can only hope and be assured of, LBJ and the Lakers. Tonight, Grizzlies favored 1 point in Sacramento. Who you got, Dave? Grizzlies laying the 1 point.
I'll go with the Grizz. Some of that's my heart, but I'll go with them.
Drew?
Give me the Grizz.
Show lock.
This is the one game they got to win.
Got to get this.
Got to win.
This might be the only one on the
Sure.
trip.
Well, you know what?
That's okay.
I would accept 1 and 3.
I will too.
If you got 2 and 2, that would be stealing one.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't go 0 and 4. You do not want to get swept in this series. That would kill a lot of the momentum.
I'm ready for the NBA to be back. I've missed you.
Well, it's here. It's here.
Not top story of the day.
That would be addendums to the Mike Bolsinger suit against the Houston Astros.
Oh, that's the guy who got lit up.
And Jim Crane, yeah. He's the guy who basically lost his job. He was
Lost his career.
sent down. Well, he went to Japan for a couple of years. I think he has young kids, and I think he wanted them to grow up in this country, so he's given up his career, and this is the way to do this. He's also adding
somebody. Yeah.
So he did the Astros, but now he's making addendums where he's getting more specific. So Jim Crane, the owner who knows nothing about public relations, he's added to the list. But this is a new name. Have you ever heard of Derek Vioga?
No.
Derek Vioga is the senior manager of team operations. He's their ops guy.
You can say the ops guy?
Yeah, because listen to this. We didn't know this.
What, the head of concessions wasn't available to sue?
No, wait. This is good. This guy deserves to be sued. Okay?
The hot water didn't work?
In 2016, he was an intern. He's the guy that introduced the analytics to Jeff Luhnow. It was a cheating system they called Code Breaker. And I do kind of like the way Mike Bolsinger is doing this. So he's going after his own money. He wants monetary damages for what he's lost the last few years. But
Pain and suffering?
the pain and suffering thing, he wants the $31 million that the Astros got.
Why not?
In postseason payoffs. He wants that $31 million to go to charity. So he wants his, but 31 additional mil that they got they have to reimburse and give into charity.
By any chance, he didn't spill any hot coffee down his crotch either, did he?
I do not believe he did.
Good. Because he cast a pretty wide net out there in the slip and fall
like
world.
it. You know what? We're getting all kinds of different things. I know we're going to talk about this later. But now you got Big Pappy. He's coming in. He's taking the side of poor Rob Manfred.
Poppy did. I like
He
Poppy.
did.
My not top story, the Tigers win last night. Because they won for one reason last night.
You're saying that's not the top story? That's a bad story?
No, it's just not the top story. But it's a good story. They won because they had the two best players on the court last night, Precious Achiuwa and Boogie Ellis. Two players I think most Sweet 16 teams would love to have. East Carolina, 20% from three-pointers, 15 turnovers, and they were just a little worse than Memphis last night. But a win for the Tigers, and now a big one Saturday against the boys from Phi Slamma Jamma. Got to say that about
It's
Houston.
not Phi Slamma Jamma.
It's
anymore.
not. I'll
tell you what they
I saw
are,
them
though.
3 years in a row come into Barnhill, and it was something to see.
I saw him too.
You did.
I saw him.
You saw him
I
at the
saw
end
him
of
up
the year.
close and personal. I saw him at NCAA tournaments.
Yeah.
I saw them walking on top of poor Audrey Turner's head.
And from the first time I saw Akeem Olajuwon in January of '82 to the last time in March of '84, I don't know if I ever saw any player in any sport with that improvement. Good, raw, big glob of unmolded clay in '82, just blocking everything and traveling a lot on the low blocks. then a little bit better in 83, and then a whole lot better in 84, and off to that superstar career in Hall of Fame in the NBA. He put the work in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting. I was reading this. Having the number one player in the draft on your team doesn't necessarily mean you even make the NCAA tournament. We're talking about Wiseman, or we're talking about, now we could talk about
Markelle
Precious.
Fultz in Washington.
Markelle Fultz. How about Ben Simmons?
Right.
LSU didn't go to the NCAA. There's about 4 or 5 examples.
I don't know that Ben Simmons played in their NIT games.
The number one player in the draft's college team did not make the NCAA tournament.
Right. You go way back. I don't know that Pacific and Michael Olowokandi did anything in the tournament back then, 20-some years ago.
No, but you got to give the guy who is now the head coach at Pacific,
got to give him
Damon
credit.
Stoudemire, he has turned that thing around. That guy is an up-and-coming coach.
Is.
I knew it when he was on Josh Pastner's staff. We all could see that
And
coming.
he wants to be college coach.
We are busy today. Now that you've heard the top, and then now we got Mark Wise coming your way at 3:30 in just a little bit. At 4 o'clock, Jason Munz will talk about what happened last night at FedEx Forum. At 5 o'clock, Matt Wyatt, the Mississippi State broadcaster. 5:30, Blake Lovell from Clutch Points app and Blue Ribbon Magazine, and then we'll end it with Crunch Time. We've always got a lot of stuff on our plate.
State with a big win last night.
And we are just underway on this Thursday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Watch out now.
Man, what kind of way is that to start a promo? We want to tell the people about R&R on Sports every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Watch out now.
It's not too early to start planning for spring at Family Leisure. New pools are starting at $19.99, spas starting at $21.99, and swim spas now only $99.99. 5-piece patio furniture starts at only $799. Pool chemicals, toys, accessories, and more up to 20% off. Mention this ad, you'll get free delivery and 1 month of chemicals with your spa purchase. Start your spring planning now at Family Leisure, Whitten Road and I-40, where family and fun come together.
I was just looking at Central Barbecue's website, eatcbq.com, and in their catering section, it says that there is no maximum amount of people that they can serve at an event.
So?
Somebody should test this.
Test what?
They say they can literally cater any amount of people.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. Central Barbecue's catering is a machine. I've used them dozens of times.
But have you ever tried to use them for a really big event?
Yes.
No, I mean a really big event.
Like what?
I'm thinking some fat cat rich guy should feed an entire Grizzlies game Central Barbecue.
Fat cat? Did you just come here from the 1920s?
I'm just saying somebody should really put Central Barbecue to the test.
You do realize you work for Central Barbecue.
The construction reduction event is on at Wolf Chase Honda. Exciting changes are in the works and inventory must be reduced. Get the best deals right now on all remaining 2019 Hondas while they last. Every new car, every certified, every used car, price to go. Get pre-approved now at wolfchasehonda.com. Wolf Chase Honda is expanding and our prices are dropping. Don't miss these savings. Act now. This huge construction reduction event ends soon.
For the best lineup of quality, fuel-efficient, and fun-to-drive vehicles, get to Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan. Over 1,000 new certified and pre-owned vehicles in one great location. Catch the savings now during our huge model year-end sales event. Score an amazing deal at Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan and get to the game in style at Germantown Road and Highway 64. Family-owned since 1981.
Did you learn your ABCs when you were a kid? Well, as a grown-up, it's time to learn your CBDs, as in CBD edibles, oil tincture, pain cream, and beauty products. All found at your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, North Germantown Parkway, and Goodman Road East. You'll find all natural, organic, and non-GMO products. Need to learn more? Your CBD store has a knowledgeable and friendly staff that can answer questions, help with choices, and put you at ease about your CBDs. Your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, Cordova, and South Haven. Your CBD store, making it as easy for you as ABC CBD.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Life is a gas. Mark Wise is going to join us. We're all in good moods.
You're going jumping jack flags
I'll
there
tell you
for
the
a
truth.
second.
This song always puts me in a good mood, especially when the sun is shining, and it's always shining in here because we're in the Family Leisure Studios, but you need to get to I-40 and Wooden Road because then you'll really see sunshine with this new Factory Direct pool, spa, and patio furniture sale. Pool starting at $19.99. The chemicals, toys, accessories, up to 20% off. You know what? Chemicals can be expensive. If you can take $1 off of every 5, I love that idea. Spas starting as low as $21.99. Even the huge, luxurious swim spas under $10,000. Patio furniture, 5-piece sets, and you know they're state of the art. That starts at $7.99, and that maintenance-free poly furniture, that's up to 20% off. If you mention this ad, free delivery and a month worth of chemicals with your spa purchase. Please get to I-40 and Wooden Road, 70,000 square feet of family of fun, and the Factory Direct pool, spa, and patio furniture sale going on now at Family Leisure. So we talked a little bit about college basketball last night. Duke goes on the road to North Carolina State. That was
good for the Tigers.
Good for the Tiger resume. Lose by 22.
I think we covered that yesterday. I don't know anything we didn't cover yesterday.
Lose by 22. I wonder if anybody's saying, Mike Krzyzewski can't coach. How could you lose?
No, because they go by his trophy case.
By 22. That's Mark Wise in the background from ESPN. Mark, I've got to ask you, because we brought this up. We posed this question. People have been answering on the First Bank text line. Is this parity this year, or is this mediocrity, or is it a combination of the two?
I think it's a combination of the two, and as I've mentioned before, I think three things are in play. Number one is this particular group of one and done, not quite as talented as previous years, so that has not allowed the blue bloods of the sport, if you will, to separate themselves. The second part is the negative impact of the three-point shooting, so that the best shooters are few and far between this year. So I think we have redefine what a bad shooting night is at the Arc this year because of the new line. And then lastly, the transfer epidemic. I don't think there's any question that our talent is spread out. Even the blue bloods are impacted in terms of not being as deep as they've been in the past. So when you take that into consideration, those three things, I think we have more parity. Here's what fans don't understand. Everybody, and if you get reasonable fans in a room and you talk to them, they'll all tell you, yes, we believe in parity. But no, I don't want my team to be part of the parity.
Yeah. I think you're right on the money, and to just sort of put an exclamation point on your talk of lack of talent at the top level, the one-and-doners. Well, let's face it, 3 of the one-and-doners aren't even playing college basketball.
Correct.
Wise quit, Hampton's in New Zealand, and so is Ball. And those 3 could be freshmen in college, and they're not playing in college this year. And I think you are so right about the transfer rule. We're only going to get more of that because the Big Ten and the ACC have both now proposed legislation. Every sport, every student athlete gets one free transfer year.
Right.
I think we're all sort of in agreement in the back of our heads. We're going, you know what? They deserve that. But also, now that we've seen what it's done, even sitting out a year in this new thing with this transfer portal that everybody's going for, we've seen what it's done to the game. I mean, I think this really hurts the game. What's your sense?
I don't know that it's going to be the doomsday that everybody thinks it's going to be. Will it make coaches even more susceptible to poaching other teams? I guess it would. Coaches have shown us for a long time that they will be willing to, how shall we phrase this, push the rules as far as possible, as well as going over the line at times. I think it's a multifaceted thing. I'm all for everybody getting to transfer one time, but I don't think you should be allowed to do it until after your third semester or after your fourth quarter. You have to give the second year a chance. That's one way I think that would ensure a little bit better academic performance or a little bit of academic integrity. into this whole thing. And let's face it, I mean, most people really, I mean, if you get truth serum in them, they really don't care about the academics. They want their team to win. I get that.
You and
so
I
from
are,
that standpoint,
you and I are
from
a
that
mind
standpoint,
meld.
I don't think it's going to be the doomsday that we think it's going to be. I would like to see the transfer portal shut down during your regular season. To me, that makes no sense whatsoever. And I don't care if we're talking about basketball, football, volleyball, badminton. I don't care. I mean, it makes no sense that the transfer portal doesn't come with some sort of date where it is open and those where it is not.
I mean, we mind meld, because one of the things, and I just was saying this yesterday when the phones went out, but when you're 18 years old, and I went through this, and you go home, you leave home for the first time.
Everybody's thought about it.
You're not really experienced enough to go, you know what, the grass is a whole lot greener on the other side. I really believe, Mark, you should not be allowed until your second year to make that transfer.
Then you're happy. You don't want to go back home, most people.
Then you at least know you've given the whole thing a year.
You gave it a try.
You know, you didn't just have a gut feel that you weren't going to get your minutes, or you're going to be in the rotation, or you should be starting and the coach doesn't like you.
And and Dave, you and Mark, I think you concur, that would be for almost anybody. That would be for banking and finance major. That would be for secondary education major. That would be for a botany major. You know, give it a chance before you're ready to leave.
Here's the only thing I will say about that. And if the one-time transfer rule does come into place, and certainly it's gaining steam and momentum, then it has to be tied to the transfer portal not being open all the time. It just simply has to be. They have to rethink that.
Last night you were in Starkville for the Mississippi State win over South Carolina. That's two great coaches, two Final Four coaches, but both of them really needed it, and only one got it, and Ben Howland's club got the win last night. South Carolina, almost a Xerox copy of where they were this time last year. They're doing damage to other SEC teams, but they're probably not going to be an at-large team.
Well, they dug themselves a hole in the non-conference. They had a Quadrant 4 loss to Stetson. They had a Quadrant 3 loss to Penn early on. And so they've been digging themselves out of that hole the whole time. It's odd that, and you guys will have great appreciation for this, last night's game was the first of two between the two teams in the last 3 weeks of the regular season. And really, from a resume perspective, they needed to trade road wins. Because if you win on the road, it's a Quadrant 1 win.
Right.
Mississippi State winning at home last night is just a Quadrant 2 win. The loss last night, people don't understand this. A Quadrant 2 loss, like South Carolina had, or Mississippi State would have had last night, it doesn't hurt you. That is not a wart on your resume. Can there be an optical bad loss in the Quadrant 2? Sure, there can be. But I found it kind of odd that if you really wanted to get into a gentleman's handshake agreement, that maybe Frank Martin and Ben Howland should have said, okay, we're going to swap roadies.
Just so people get it, the delineation of what is a Quad 1 and a Quad 2 is really defined easily. The team that you are playing, if Memphis is playing, let's say, Houston, for a home game, has to be a 30. If they're within the top 30, that is a Quad 1 game. If Memphis goes to Houston, then Houston has to be 75. Road games, if you're in the top 75, it's a quad win. If it's a home game, it's a top 30. That's the delineation. Right. Mark, do you think that's fair? Is this new system a good system?
I love it. I love it because it better equates what the difficulty of winning on the road. So what it's saying is, in your analogy, for Memphis to beat Houston on the road is more difficult than beating them at home. And so from that perspective, I think it's a fair system. I think, certainly, we're all going to play the numbers game. And South Carolina is a great illustration because they've been flirting in and out of the top 75. So for a team like Houston, who won at South Carolina, for a team like Florida, who won at South Carolina, they need South Carolina to be in the top 75.
South Carolina's bipolar. They're the craziest team I've seen.
And Mark, the year Frank Martin went to the Final Four with Sindarius Thornwell, and 1 year ago when Auburn went to the Final Four, at this time, the most diehard South Carolina and the most diehard Auburn fan would not have said, yeah, this team on February 20th is going to end up in the Final Four. What SEC team out there this year could match that? Could be the South Carolina from a few years ago or the Auburn from last year that were really kind of short selling them right now, and they catch that wave. They have that run. I know matchups are everything, but what personnel grouping do you think could pull that off?
Well, you're asking me there's two different questions there. What team do I think from the league can make the Final Four, or what team can make a run to the Final Four that's maybe not favored to do so? I guess it would have to be LSU or Florida in that mix, although I don't know how you'd have a lot of confidence in either one. The team that's best equipped to go to the Final Four, as long as Nick Richards stays on the floor, is Kentucky because of those three guards. We know that the NCAA tournament is heavily based on great guard play. Kentucky's got that with the triumvirate of Higgins and Maxey and Quickly.
I don't, I hear you. I think Kentucky is the one team that is equipped to do that, but it wouldn't be like that Auburn run because nobody expected that. We expect Kentucky to. I think LSU would probably have been in that regard, but they started off 8-0, and now we see that was schedule induced, and I don't think they're really that good a basketball team. Maybe the two that would come from out of nowhere that seem to have talent would be Mississippi State or Arkansas. Could you see any of those going, either of those two teams putting together a long run and stunning folks?
I can't see Arkansas. They're just not big enough. They basically play four guards. They hope to get Isaiah Joe back in the lineup on Saturday. They're going to have a really hard time from where they are right now. They haven't won since Isaiah Joe was injured. They're going to have a really hard time just making the tournament. They may have to win, I want to say maybe 3 of their last 5 at least, maybe 4 out of their last 5, and it better be the right 4. In terms of Mississippi State, that's kind of a hard team to get a handle on. I'm a big fan of Reggie Perry, but last night they won at home against South Carolina and had 22 of the ugliest turnovers, just head scratchers. And you just cannot give possessions away like that and try to make some kind of run. So it comes back to your consistent guard play. Are they really good once the ball gets up on the rim? They're the third best offensive rebounding team from a percentage perspective in the country. They're really good. And Reggie Perry is a man's man. He didn't play very well last night. I say that he had his 14th double-double. So again, I don't know that I don't know that the SEC is as good as we think it is right now.
Do you see any team capable of making a Final Four from the American?
No.
Not even Houston?
Kelvin Sampson, and I've talked about this, he thinks his team is really good. They're not great. He thought last year's team was capable of making it to the Final Four. Here's what I think you have to have. Let's talk about that. What does it take to get to the Final Four? Number one and foremost is pro talent. Does Houston have pro talent? Maybe. But nobody stands out and you go, hey, that's a pro.
Mills.
Number two,
I'll throw out Mills. Corey Mills will end up being a pro.
Caleb Mills?
Caleb Mills, yeah, the freshman.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go. He's got a really long way to go. And I like him. I mean, he's a good piece of the puzzle, don't get me wrong. Number two, you've got to have pro talent. You've got to have great guard play. You've got to be healthy. You've got to somewhere along the way catch a break. And with the NCAA tournament championship list is filled with teams that somewhere along the way caught a break. And I can go back to the 2 Florida teams that I covered, give you the exact moment from both years. How about the breaks that Virginia caught last year in 3 straight games?
Right.
I mean, just the basketball gods have to smile on you.
Mark, you smile on us.
You sure do.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
You be safe out there too, Mark.
You're going to A&M? Is that
All right,
where you're
thanks,
next?
Fellas.
Thank you. And that is Mark Wise from ESPN, and I love listening to him.
You know, both of the Jay Wright National Championships, both of those Villanova National Championships, they were bulldozers. They were not – they really didn't care. Well, they caught a break at the buzzer in the first one, didn't they, when they won that game at the buzzer in the final game. But that second one, 2 years ago, 2018, you could replay that tournament over and over and over again, and they would have won every time.
This portion of the show, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Group. I love talking about those guys because Matt now has another partner. It's called Britt Linder. He and his family, we go back in time with those guys. We're talking about something like 300 years worth of experience. It's really neat. I can tell you this. They will protect you. You sit down with Matt Eflin, and he is going to go over and really check with you about what your needs may be. It's a one-on-one evaluation. If it's your family, they'll talk health insurance and life insurance and how many kids you got and how you want to space this all out and everything that you need. He'll find the product, and you get a great price. Now let's go to business because they do business as well. Not every insurance company does both, but they do with the Eflin Insurance Group. And that's simple, too. He'll sit down and he'll forecast out 10 years, 15, 20, your business, what it is that's really critical to protect. He finds the product, you feel secure. If you would like that kind of sense, if you want that kind of service, because they are a family-oriented group, please make this call. That's simple. It's 757-2315, or if you're a Tiger fan, you'll remember this number, 386-GRR, G-R-R. That's 386-4777. Those numbers get you some kind of sense of security. It's the Eflin Insurance Group. Back with a wrap of hour number one on this Thursday, just underway on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3. Here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
You have to be up in 5 hours. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Okay, time out. You're gonna let your budget be the boss of you? Take control with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay for car insurance, and we'll help you find options that fit your budget. Here's some music to get you pumped. Da-dong, 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 dang, dang. I hear your budget laughing at you. Oh, wait, that's just those kids laughing at me. Ignore them! Da-dong, da-dong,
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Limb Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC-accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Limb Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselimembrace.com.
Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
Did you learn your ABCs when you were a kid? Well, as a grown-up, it's time to learn your CBDs, as in CBD edibles, oil tincture, pain cream, and beauty products. All found at your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, North Germantown Parkway, and Goodman Road East. You'll find all natural, organic, and non-GMO products. Need to learn more? Your CBD store has a knowledgeable and friendly staff that can answer questions, help with choices, and put you at ease about your CBDs. Your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, Cordova, and South Haven. Your CBD store, making it as easy for you as ABC CBD.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Welcome back in. Still sort of head spinning over last night. There's no question. A win's a win.
It is. Don't apologize for it.
It would have been disaster had it not been, but
especially at this point in the year.
I know that there are several that were unhappy that it wasn't the blowout that it looked like it might be.
Were they holding tickets?
I think probably some were.
Over in Left Memphis?
Well, those people were not happy, that's for sure. That was because the Tigers were 13-point favorites.
I didn't mean ducats to the game. I meant tickets.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Those people I never really take into account. That's, it's a grown-up game, and you at your own peril.
All big boys. That's right.
But
paddle to fit every rear end.
For those that were, really thinking that this team was going to blow this team out when they were up 16 in the first half or in the second half, I know this is disappointing. And to me, it is a product of youth that they don't keep their intensity. And we sort of said this before. And I think it was Tyler Harris who said, not this game, but the game before, about every time we fix something, it's like this game where, the game of Mole or whatever he said, where you get something fixed and then something else goes wrong.
Always something.
And last night, the thing to me,
there are a lot of flawed
wrong,
teams out there.
The thing that went wrong was defense, and they've been a really solid defensive team.
And
that's
intensity.
Hungry. And I hate to say this, I'm going to bring Duke up again. They lost by 22 at Raleigh to an NC State team that was good for Memphis's resume. But you know what he said last night? He basically said we didn't compete. We didn't feel like we really had to win this game. We weren't hungry. They were hungry.
Imagine practice
They had
today.
to win. This is Mike Krzyzewski who is saying this. When you let a team and you're really good, and you're, I think teams are shooting 41% against Memphis. It's really astonishing. And they held that team in the first half to 10 of 30, 33%. They were 1 of 10 from three-point range. And all of a sudden, in the second half, after you take that big lead, and they're shooting, well, it was 16-40. So I'm just going to the worst it was 57%, but I think it was about 60%. They just thought the game was over.
Jason Munn's going to join us at the top of the next hour. Breaking news, NFL owners have accepted the negotiated terms of a new CBA. The vote now goes to the players ahead of a potential agreement for both sides. Don't you think if it's to that critical mass, they know that DeMar Smith has the votes and the players that they're going to vote for it? And this is going to be early.
Can I tell you why the players are going to vote for it?
Money.
Do you know how much money?
A lot more.
$5 billion more.
A lot more.
So here's the deal.
The players always roll over and let them tickle their stomach because that money gets better and you have to take it. They huff and puff every CBA about protracted strike or lockout, and they can't. And I don't blame them, because if you paid that price now, if you said, all right, we're going to have solidarity, we're going to save our money, we're going to stockpile it, union dues, everything, we're going to do this the right way, and we're going to hold out and we're going to make those owners play ball. You're doing it for guys in 10 years. And why go to that much trouble for that guy that's 16 now, and you can get your cash now?
This actually is not for down the road. This is for right now.
Right now. They always settle for right now.
And the truth is they're not giving up much to make $5 billion. What they're going to do is they're going to play one extra regular season game, right? So from 16 to 17, but they're taking away an exhibition game. So really, you're playing the same amount of games. Now, if you're a starter, maybe you're going to play an extra half. Okay? For that, 2 extra teams are going to be into the playoffs. The one that used to get a bye used to not get paid. Now they're going to get paid. The whole thing is for playing basically 2 extra teams in the playoffs, you're getting $5 billion.
And give me my
How
cash
can
now.
you not take that?
You can't. And that's what always gets them. And they always give in because the billionaires usually win over the millionaires, and they want that cash now instead of taking that hardline stand that DeMaurice Smith came in and really ran down Gene Upshaw. Ran down Gene Upshaw as a puppet of Tagliabue and Goodell. And a good man, ran down his reputation, and I'm going to be different. I'm going to be the stalwart cowboy, and we're not going to be messed with. They run right over him.
You can run over me for $5 billion.
And that's what always gets them.
Well, that's what this is all about now. This is all about money. And I really don't think they're playing extra games. They're playing the same amount. 2 teams will play an extra game. And there's so much more here. And honestly,
if those pretty high-level
if you're
games,
playing those exhibition games and all those injuries occur, my goodness, at least make them count.
But those owners don't care about player safety. They care about the big class action against them.
Well, and I think they want the product to be better to keep the popularity of the game where it is. And I would tell you, I know you're the one that is not for extra games.
I'm for less games.
I would say to you, most fans will like this.
Well, sure they will. Oh, no doubt about it.
We take the timeout. When we come back, we'll be joined by Jason Munz. We'll talk more about that game last night. We'll get into this NFL thing in a little bit. We are an hour in the books here in the Flynn Broadcasting Center. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. For more than 26 years, they've supplied all the diesel parts that you need. From simple repairs to complete overhauls, they have it all. Whether it's heavy, medium, light duty, agricultural, marine, or off-road, Mid-South Power is the leading source for all things diesel. Fuel injection, turbochargers, engine parts, alternators, starters, and brakes, they can supply all the parts and services you need. Stop in today at 3250 Mill Branch Road in Memphis or call 901-396-0710.
Get to Holly Chevrolet in Marion to take advantage of great deals during Holly's 2020 kickoff sale. Right now, get 0% financing for 72 months on the all-new 2020 Chevy Silverado 1500 plus $1,000 bonus earnings. Or get 0% financing for 72 months on a new 2020 Chevy Equinox plus $500 cash allowance. Stop by today and check out Holly's large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs ready for you to enjoy. And at Holly Chevrolet, it's a no-pressure, no-hassle environment. As a matter of fact, there's no badgers and never pay a dock fee. Find new roads at Exit 14 off I-55 in Marion, just 15 minutes from downtown Memphis, or online at hollychevrolet.com.
2020 Chevy Silverado 1500 stock number N4007. 2020 Chevy Equinox LD front-wheel drive stock number N4074. 0% financing on approved credit. All discounts, rebates, and incentives are included and applied. Most qualified finance with GM Financial and 2005 or newer GM product. Price does not include tax, tag, title, registration. Take delivery by 3/2/20. See dealer for details.
I was just looking at Central Barbecue's website, eatcbq.com. And in their catering section, it says that there is no maximum amount of people that they can serve at an event.
So?
Somebody should test this.
Test what?
They say they can literally cater any amount of people.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. Central Barbecue's catering is a machine. I've used them dozens of times.
But have you ever tried to use them for a really big event?
Yes.
No, I mean a really big event.
Like what?
I'm thinking some fat cat rich guy should feed an entire Grizzlies game Central Barbecue.
Fat cat? Did you just come here from the 1920s?
I'm just saying somebody should really put Central Barbecue to the test.
You do realize you work for Central Barbecue.
Did you learn your ABCs when you were a kid? Well, as a grown-up, it's time to learn your CBDs, as in CBD edibles, oil tincture, pain cream, and beauty products. All found at your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, North Germantown Parkway, and Goodman Road East. You'll find all natural, organic, and non-GMO products. Need to learn more? Your CBD store has a knowledgeable and friendly staff that can answer questions, help with choices, and put you at ease about your CBDs. Your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, Cordova, and South Haven. Your CBD store, making it as easy for you as ABC CBD.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1, and 87.7 FM, as well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app, and at home, tell Alexa or Google to play Sports 56. If it's happening in the world of sports, we've got it covered. Wherever you are, stay tuned to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in. Did you do that for me? Bring out Chicago?
Just for you, Dave.
Thank you.
It's all for you, Dave.
I love this song.
It's the reason your name's the biggest one on the marquee.
That's it, Dave. Whole focus is about you.
No, the biggest name, yeah. That's probably true.
Spotlight.
I don't think the focus
It shines
is.
brightly on you, Dave.
Can
you handle it?
I'll tell you who made both of us the focus today. If you look in the print paper, which not many do anymore, you didn't. I had to show you today. But we are both
I'm
in
online.
print today. Yeah. Thanks to the one and only Jason Munz.
It has been great, Jason.
From the Commercial
I knew it would
Appeal.
be.
He's the
When you
Tiger
launched
beat writer. Boy, I didn't realize I was so hard on poor Dana Kirk. And the very first quote here. Lord.
Came out with a salvo there.
Man, you either loved him or you hated him. That's what I said.
It was a colorful year, though. It was, and Jason, I told you, for me, it feels like 2 years ago.
Oh, you mean the 84-85 season?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's it has been a lot of fun. It really has. I really enjoy these types of things. When I was doing the bicentennial stuff, to look back at the bicentennial stuff, that was fun. And this has been even better. I really it is just what people remember, what people how people remember things. It's all been great, and I'm sitting here trying to put together the last piece, and every one of them so far has been in the neighborhood of like 1,500 to 2,000 words, and this one's going to be like 3, maybe even 3,500.
Wow. Looking forward to it.
In the neighborhood, that's going to be the last one, and I'm sitting here thinking, man, I probably could have done 6 or 8 of these instead of just 5, but
Were you able to get Keith Lee to talk?
Man, listen, I'm still trying. It's funny you ask. I actually had lunch today with some people who are close to him, and I'm still working on it. Not yet. So I'm hopeful. I've been hoping this whole time that if I couldn't get him before the thing started running, that maybe the fact that people are talking to him about it, or if he sees it, maybe it'll make him want to talk about, get in touch or reach out or whatever. But no such luck yet. But we've still got a little time.
I would love to hear, in a retrospect, just him alone,
Yeah.
Because he truly is one of the most interesting sports figures. And he was kind enough, and we had Pierre Landash on a couple of days ago talking about the new Hall of Fame class. And, first he wasn't going to come, and then he came. And
had a blast.
And then he fell in love with the whole thing and the idea of thanking people and reliving those times. And he's got a unique perspective. I mean, I don't know how much he would come clean on all of this, but I would love a retrospective from his point of view about the shoebox full of money and about the options that he had and about coming and about really, everybody thought he was going to be really good, but then he turned out to be really, really good. And what that was like for his own self-esteem, and then how he found religion. And I think the guy is a really interesting fella. He ended up meeting at the University of Memphis his wife. They've been together forever. It's a great romantic story.
She was a good player.
It is a story in some degrees of success. I don't know that he ever went back and got his degree, so that you could say would be a frustration maybe on his point. I don't know, because he really wanted to be a college coach, and he never got the degree, so he never was able to truly accomplish that. You're right, there is heartbreak because they didn't get to the championship.
His pro career.
Ring. His pro career was really going to be great, and then he had a knee issue. It would really be a wonderful story. It's so funny. You say it seems like yesterday. To me, that seems reading it brought back such great memories. And reading my friend Mike Finn, who really was my liaison, as being a TV reporter to the U of M, probably wouldn't have happened without Mike Finn. He was a big part of that. So I have such great memories there. But it seems like a long time ago to me.
Yeah, and I obviously this last chapter will deal a lot with the postseason, the conference tournament that year, and just the legacy that team put together. With that magical year. So there are some voices that we haven't heard in the first four parts yet that I'm excited to share their words, and so looking forward to polishing this baby off. But I will say, the more you guys talk about Keith Lee, listen, I'll leave it open ended. We'll say that this will be the last part of the project, but I'll tell you what, if the door is always open. If I don't get a chance to talk to him and he's not part of this fifth chapter, the door will always be open. I can always add one later on down the road.
Jason, I told you, well, on and off, now very, very much on the record, I think he is one of the most unique, interesting, shadowy, mercurial. I mean, just go through the vocabulary book. He almost can fit them all, figures in the history of Memphis sport. But I think the saddest thing, I don't think he's ever understood how loved he is, how appreciated he is. And I think when he saw it at the Hall of Fame event last October, he lit up.
It resonated.
From all reports that, man, these people really do love me, because I think he felt burned by the recruitment process. I think he feels this is just my supposition, a little jaded by the always attached to the shoebox of money, but then on the floor, all-time leading scorer, all-time leading rebounder.
He's number one.
It certainly helps to have somebody like Penny Hardaway, sort of, be outspoken. I don't know that he's been outspoken, but he has. I've talked to him a little bit about Keith, and he's very much a Keith Lee fan, and so that doesn't hurt to have somebody like that in your corner.
All right, tease for me. I'm not telling you to give me any content, but tease for me one or two of the new voices that you're going to have in this next installment.
Well, if you'll remember, and I know you do, Memphis very, famously played UAB in the second round, I believe it was, of the NCAA tournament that year, and 9 of the 10 players that started that game on the floor were from Memphis, and Andre Turner. Everybody remembers Andre Turner's buzzer beater, sort of a little mid-range jumper that beat Gene Bartow and the UAB Blazers, former Memphis State basketball coach who coached Larry Finch, if I'm not mistaken, at Memphis State, was the coach at UAB, and Andre Turner's former junior high teammate, Steve Mitchell.
Yeah, he played for UAB. Big Jack Gordon played for UAB, though. So you got the 5 Memphis guys that were all from here. Big Jack and Steve Mitchell. I know. So that's 7. Who are the other 2 that could have been from Memphis?
Jerome Mency.
Oh, yeah.
Jerome Mency, and the last one's escaping me. I apologize. The last one's escaping me, but I had a very long, very entertaining conversation with Steve Mitchell about a lot of different things, and one of them obviously was that game against Memphis State in 1985. And I mean, he was the guy. He was guarding Andre Turner, his junior high teammate.
Right.
I mean, they you know, like, I had both of them tell me separately, independently of one another, that they were both being recruited by the same, some of the same schools, but they knew they couldn't play together. They knew they weren't going to be able to work as a tandem on the same team. And so, as I put in one of the earlier parts, Andre Turner was all set to go to Auburn, and Steve Mitchell was going to UAB. But no, he had a lot of memories and thoughts and recollections of that game, and even down to that last play that was a tough pill for him to swallow.
Steve Mitchell, to this day, still works for UAB and is the radio analyst for the Blazers broadcasts. So he's still very much involved.
Jason, any parallels to this year's team from the 84-85 wild ride the Tiger fans went on?
Well, I mean, I don't think so, really. I mean, I think we thought there would be before the season started, and that was part of the impetus for is part of the reason why I wanted to do this thing, is because it was the 35th anniversary, and there was all this Final Four talk before this season that we're currently in, and I thought, look, that's kismet, So I thought it would be a nice companion piece to this season. As it has turned out, it's just been a lot different. James Wiseman, the best player, arguably the best player in the country, Memphis signs and then only gets him for 3 games. And, we all know how this season has gone, but, it didn't necessarily, there's been some differences, with the way this season has gone compared to that one. But, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, NCAA tournament's not out of the question for this team.
What is your takeaway from last night? Obviously a win, you could say an escape. Clearly would have been disaster to lose at home to a 215 net team. That was not what occurred, thank goodness. But I think people walked out of there more relieved than impressed. Let's put it that way. Give me your sense of what happened.
Yeah, relieved. I mean, if I'm a Memphis fan, I am looking up at around the 5-6 minute mark and saying, what on earth do we have to do to get this team to close out a game? I mean, and I started thinking about this in the moment last night. Has Memphis ever this season closed out a team that, I mean, outside of Jackson State and Bradley,
UIC, South Carolina State, right?
Yeah, you take away those teams that are kind of way down in the net rankings and some of those other rankings. I can't think of a team where Memphis has just done
the tape,
what it was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Left the door open against Ole Miss.
Well, even against Tulane. That wasn't what was the final score in that game?
1 by 11.
1 by 11. So it just barely got into double digits. It was closer. They pulled away at the end. The Ole Miss game, they blew a 16-point lead,
and were handling Ole Miss all day. And now the record books show 1, but that was a deep mid-court 3 at the horn. But it was
Yeah,
one.
I mean, you even go back to the go back to the NC State game up in Brooklyn, and a lot of people remember the great first half. Probably the best half of basketball that this team has ever played together, and NC State made that a game in the second half. And so that's really, you'd like to walk out of there feeling like, hey, let's puff our chest out a little bit. We got the bad taste out of our mouth. We snapped the 3-game losing streak. We got this win right before a pretty big game coming up on Saturday to kind of get our mojo back. But you don't really feel that way, or at least I don't, because East Carolina coming all the way here. I mean, Memphis kind of had to survive. They had to really fight and scratch down there late, in the last 2-3 minutes, and largely because of their own. It was because of their own doing. Penny Hardaway was asked after the game, why does this team continue to struggle to put teams away? And he's like, we get up big, and they just start doing crazy stuff. They kind of lose their minds, I think is the way he phrased it. So, I mean, I don't know. At some point, that's got to stop, or else the season's just going to continue to be this up and down, very frustrating year.
Well, the most frustrating thing from my vantage point is that it's always something different. That every time they fix it, there's something new that breaks. Last night, you can say shot selection was a little silly.
And for a while there, feared a broken hand.
Oh, yeah.
In Tyler Harris.
You're right, because he came off the court mouthing that he thought he broke his finger. And thank goodness that was not the case. But it was Harris who actually said on a couple of post games ago that, every time they fix something, something else breaks. Last night, the most troublesome thing for me was they just stopped playing defense. They thought the game was over, and they stopped playing D, and then that undisciplined aspect carries over to their offense, and they take silly shots. But I thought the comeback was because they stopped playing defense hard. And when you're a team that figures out ways to lose games the way this one has the 3 prior games, you've got to learn to stay intense the whole way, and that is part youth. But there's something else. There's not a guy there that is one of those I'm going to kick your rear end kind of personality.
Yeah, there really isn't like a step on the throat, when you got to, go for the jugular guy yet. And it's just so crazy because you would think after how many times has this team had to, endure late game scares or endure like even worse than that, losing games. You got a 12-point lead with 7 minutes to go at home, and SMU comes back and beats you. I mean, you got a lead on the road at Cincinnati in a game that would be huge. I mean, they know that if they would have won, if they win that game at Cincinnati, they had every opportunity to do that. That it would have been huge. It would have been a big help and a big weight off their shoulders, but they didn't do it. And so it's just, to me, I can't seem to put my finger on why they don't get that yet, that they can't stop playing defense. East Carolina, I looked at it at one point, there had been 3 minutes left in the game. East Carolina was shooting 8% in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think the only thing I think of is they see 10-16 East Carolina in their building. They're up double digits, and they can just, start taking risks and doing things that they weren't taught to do, and it'll all still be okay. And I mean, just when you think they would have learned their lesson after the heartbreaks against South Florida, Cincinnati, UConn, you look up and they haven't yet. So I don't know. That's just, to me, that's a discouraging development.
All right, so let me ask you this point blank, and I don't know the answer. I'm going to ask you: do you think that they they end up getting it in the next 5 games?
You know, I've spent a lot of minutes, a lot of airtime since we since we started talking here today, sort of bemoaning their immaturity and their lack of, getting it. But I said earlier today on a podcast that Mark Giannotto and I recorded, I think they win Saturday. I think they beat Houston, and I think because they beat Houston Saturday, they're going to beat SMU next Tuesday. And now, that being said, I don't know that they're going to win in such a way that it's because they've a light bulb has turned on in their head about how to close games. I think they're going to have to really fight and scrap to beat both of those teams. And so I don't envision, a scenario where they're up double digits against Houston and they all of a sudden figure out how to put the game away. I see it playing out a little differently. So I think yes and no. I think they're going to have success in part because they're due.
Well, that'll be the win of the year.
Yeah. It's a big game. I mean, these are big-time players, and they are due for something good to happen apart from, like something more than beating East Carolina. And they're at home, and I think the home court advantage is going to be significant for Memphis this Saturday. And so
I think the crowd will be significantly bigger than it was last night, and we'll get a good look at this team that obliterated Tulsa. Now Tulsa had a couple of guys. Basically, one guy got tossed, the other guy got a 5th foul for the tee. So they were missing 2 of their key guys down the stretch, but they were already down by 22 points when that occurred. So
and plus, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think Tulsa's sort of a fraud at this point.
So
they played well, but they're just not. They're the one that you look at in the pecking order. That's just like at some point the other shoe's got to drop.
How did they beat Memphis by 40 then?
I know, because sports. I guess
that's it. Sports. That's it, Jason.
Yeah, I mean that's the only explanation.
I said it at the time. If Tulsa's in first place, the league's not very good.
Right. We all know that everybody has a stinker, every year, and I mean, I don't think the fact that they won by 40 means they're 40 points better than Memphis.
It doesn't.
I think that game got out of hand and snowballed on Memphis, and it was just one of those days.
Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. We'll see you on Saturday. Go, folks. Read the commercial appeal today, Jason Mudd's story on Dana Kirk, the loss at Detroit, which, of course, was controversial. Ooh. Good pictures in there and everything else. We appreciate your work, my friend. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you.
That is Jason Munz from the commercial appeal. Our second hour, as you know, is presented by Genesis of Olive Branch. That is Chris True's wonderful shop that I think is the perfect example of the way car business should be done, where they take care of you from the very beginning and maintenance, and they know your family by the time it's all said and done. That's the truth. And if I'm looking for a pre-owned car, hey, I know who I'm going to call because they're going to take care of me. They've done it so many times. And right now that product, that incredible Genesis, is truly a joy to drive. I've never had a car with that kind of pickup and that kind of handling and still have all the plushness that you get with a luxury car. Go see for yourself. They got a thing called Flexible Test Drive. You can take it for a while and see what I'm talking about. I got the G90. That's like the limo. There's the G80, a little more mid-size. The G70, well, that's like a sports car with a back seat. I mean, it's amazing. I call it the James Bond car. That's a rocket. Go see for yourself what I'm talking about. Each car, so well put together. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Just get on Lamar. It becomes Highway 78 in Mississippi. Very first exit, Craft Road. Turn left. You're there. Where car business is done the right way. And the product is unbelievable. The best luxury car going. That's the Genesis from Olive Branch. Back in just 1 minute. We'll talk a little Grizz when we return. This is Sports Time with Wolo and Stats on Sports 56.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
The best place to go for all things guns and gear is what you hear me talking about all the time. Collierville Guns and Gear has the only one-stop sound suppressor silencer shop in one place on Highway 72 in Collierville. Fingerprints, photo, trust, and notary all in one place. Only place in Tennessee that you can do that. Protecting your kids' ears and your ears and getting less recoil is huge. If you've not been to Tactical Guns and Gear, I promise they have all the latest and best guns and rifles before other shops even have them ordered. And how great is it that you can ask Jim or Jake to add all the gear you want to any gun or rifle, and they'll do the custom package for you. Gun, scope, sight, sling, case, balancer, and ammo, all done. A perfectly balanced rifle is everything, and the right scope is good too. All eyes are different. You may want red or green or night vision. Make sure Jim or Jake knows. For all things guns and gear, head to Tactical Guns and Gear on Highway 72 in Collierville and tell them Eli says hi. Online at tacticalgunsandgear.net.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Pop Wigington has been in the restaurant business since the 70s and has now brought 3 generations of family favorites together under one roof at Pop's Comfort Kitchen, 2990 Kirby Whitten Parkway next to Kroger. Pop's takes you back to a simpler time when food and life was more wholesome. Settle down today for lunch or dinner at Pop's with daily specials like country fried steak, fried catfish, chicken and dumplings, or Pop's famous fried chicken livers, all served up with your choice of 23 fresh vegetables like field peas and snaps, seasoned green beans, sweet corn and turnip greens. Hungry for a sandwich? Check out the Chuck, a hand-patted cheeseburger between 2 grilled cheese buns topped with lettuce, tomato, diced onion, pickles, fried egg, and bacon. Or a half-pound flat iron steak sandwich served on Texas toast. Don't forget one of Grandma's homemade desserts like chess pie or banana pudding. Take comfort today at Pop's Comfort Kitchen, 2990 Kirby Whitten Parkway next to Kroger. Pop's Comfort Kitchen.
Everyone agrees that February is the most romantic month. Not just because of Valentine's Day, but because it's so cold, this is the month when we really have to share that body heat. And if you want romance, you simply can't beat 117 Prime, Memphis's premier downtown dining destination. Take your significant other out for the dinner of their life at 117 Prime, and romance will definitely be in the air. A great wine list, a huge selection of bourbons, perfect steaks, and of course, the best oyster bar in downtown Memphis. Take the one you love to 117 Prime, and you'll definitely be sharing body heat later.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
So tonight, the final third, because it's really not the halfway mark. Two-thirds of the season in the books, 28 games to go. For the Memphis Grizzlies, 4-game bulge. Will they make the playoffs?
You want to go W's and L's?
Make the playoffs?
No.
I'm
not threatening the audience.
We already
like that.
actually kind of did that.
We almost went W's and L's yesterday on the Grizzlies.
Well, I could have understood why you would have done that yesterday. And I've gone on record saying I think they're going to hold on and just eke it out. But they got to kind of, if they're going to, and, you know, there's always going to be surprises. They're going to beat somebody that we don't know about now. It'll be an upset, and they're going to get upset. And I'll be honest with you. I made a bet with another journalist in town that I think John Morant's going to get rested. And when he gets rested, are they going to win those games? That you better take into account, ladies and gentlemen. And this particular person did not think that they will rest Ja. I think they will.
I think they should. If you believe in that.
If you're trying to make the playoffs.
But if you spent this mountain of money on all these studies, sleep, diet, maintenance, don't you have to follow it out?
I think.
Don't you have to subscribe to it?
Personally, I think it's I think you do. You have to kind of look at what your outline is, but then
have your plan. Know your plan. Work your plan.
It's plan your work your plan.
Something like that.
Plan your work your plan.
Yeah.
Sherry Sawyer, thank you very much.
Yeah,
but wait a second.
You deviate
Brett.
now, you could blow it all
But
up.
you deviate if you are chasing a carrot and you need to make that adjustment to get the carrot.
All right, just playing the opposite side. I don't believe a word that I'm getting ready to try to defend. How much do these playoffs really matter this year? What's it really matter to be the 8th and go to Los Angeles and get whacked by the Lakers twice, come home, have that plucky, heartbreaking 4-point loss in Game 3, get swept in Game 4, and it's over April 25th?
Hey, let's ask that. At 360-8255
What's it matter?
on the first
It
bank
matters
phone
a ton.
lines.
I set that up as the argument.
Yeah, but I want to hear, because I think there are a lot of fans out there that are going along, and Zach Kleiman has said this. I'm not thinking about the short run. I'm thinking about the long run. When they were in the
good, I'm glad we've got people
when
thinking
they were
long-term.
going into the trading deadline, he said in retrospect, he made it very clear the playoffs were not that important to him this year. If you're spending $200 to go for a ticket and spend what did we say the beer is $6 a beer?
11, 12.
11, 12. You know, I think you'd want to make those fans happy, and those fans are going to come if you're in a playoff race.
If they bought tickets this year, aren't they buying next year?
67129. That's the First Bank text line, First Bank phone line, 360-8255. Do you guys care if they make the playoffs this year, or is it more important rest Ja more, rest Jaron more, rest Dylan Brooks more? Because we don't care about
Rest
the playoffs.
Brandon Clark, too.
We don't care about the playoffs this year. We're building for 2-3 years down the road when we could go to the Western Conference Finals or the NBA Championship.
I am much more concerned about 2023 than I am April of 2020. And I'm glad we have a front office finally that's not as and owner-wise at times in the past has been this way, is not as hand-to-mouth as we sometimes would get with deals and thinking. I want a Memphis Grizzlies 2025 plan, and I think this one's got it.
So you're more concerned about May of 2023 than you are of this year if you've got a chance to make the playoffs.
I am. I think this year really is it's mean. It'll be fun, and I'll be there. Heck, I'll probably be towel waving, and it'll be fun because it has seemed like forever since that last playoff game.
Ultimately, it did work out for the Nationals when we were talking about the Steven Strasburg and resting. If you're the Grizzlies and you kind of have that plan of worrying about 2023 now, do you run into that type of situation where everybody made fun of the Nationals?
It took a long time for
it
that.
took them a way long of a time
for
it to work out.
I was just going to say, it worked out 6 years later.
Do you have faith that it's going to work out 6 or 7 years later?
So all those people that could have seen Strasburg pitch and they make the playoffs and maybe win that title, there's a percentage of them that are dead. There's a percentage that stopped caring.
Now, baseball a little different because we're talking about the Nationals at that time. Why not one of the protected seeds? It wasn't as far-fetched for them to get on that run when they were resting him. It is far-fetched for the Grizzlies to get on anything resembling a run. That Lakers series at minimum is going to be 4-2. At minimum. And the 3 of the 4 losses will be by 15 plus.
This is a texture. I hear this a lot. I don't believe this. It does get less penal as we go on, but he goes, the Grizzlies in caps might not be even in Memphis in 2025 per Vegas. We want the playoffs now.
Oh, are we really still scared of that?
There will be a draft every year. You'll wish you didn't rest them if they get traded or hurt. You do it now.
2025. Do you think the Grizzlies will be here?
I do.
I do too. I would bet serious money on it.
The one great protector was David Stern. I don't know where Adam Silver is. I knew where David Stern stood, but I think
protector is also the legal clauses of getting out of FedEx Forum.
Well, that's true, but that does become less and less penal
with every passing year.
With every year. I do think 2025 is 5 years down. I think it's pretty well protected till 27 anyway, if I recall correctly. But bottom line is, I think Memphis has been a good, even though it's pretty hard for a small market to really make money because you can't, Memphis literally gets, 20% of the television revenues on the local package that the New York Knicks get.
But we're healthier than New Orleans. I know they have Zion now, but
right.
we also have some building blocks. Aren't we at least as comparably healthy as Atlanta?
I would think that you are.
Charlotte?
Atlanta's a much bigger market than Memphis. There's more money that can be made with local programming.
I agree.
In that regard.
Charlotte?
I would think you'd be somewhat comparable to Charlotte. I would think you would be, to a certain extent, comparable with Milwaukee. I don't know what kind of money that Milwaukee market brings in. Detroit, that's another market that you have to wonder about. And they've been in the desert for a long, long time.
So out of these 28 games, how many to win the 8th spot?
I think 12, and they're definitely in. That would be
12 would take you to
40
wins. I think 40 is the comfortable number. It might even recede a little. It could get down to.
I think 10 is if we can use an NCAA term, a bubble sort of mark. 38 wins.
Well, these next 4 on the road, we both said earlier 1 and 3 would be fine with us.
You got to get 1.
And then home against Sacramento next Friday night.
That's a must-win. So there's 2.
Back-to-back against the Lakers, just like this week, but next week at home. And that will be a gigantic crowd, and we know why. And I understand it. In the years of the Grizzlies being in Memphis, what do you think's been the premier out-of-town phenom superstar player to come through over now this 19-year run, getting ready to end 19 years?
I would give it a tie because, I'm famous for ties. I would make it a tie between Kobe and LeBron.
That's probably accurate. I think it is a tie.
And frankly, I'm still I felt gypped for those people 2 years ago that for Christmas presents, because it was in that time area.
LeBron, he was tired.
Where LeBron, not only did LeBron not show, but the big 3 didn't show up. No Kevin Love, no LeBron, and no
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving. I mean, come on.
What if he doesn't play a week from Saturday night? Will we mind it?
Maybe not now,
because we have an interest in it, and it's more toward the end of the year than the middle.
Doesn't he have to play because it's a road game?
That's right. He has to, not unless he's injured. So that's the other thing. I mean, we already know that Ja has a history of getting a sore back, right?
Ooh, I think this texture, and I think I feel the venom too.
All you got to do is go up, tight back, sitting out precautionary reasons.
How do you argue with it?
You don't.
How do you disprove it?
You don't.
It's not your back.
You don't.
67129 First Bank text line, and I'm gonna read it. I think as he or she means it, I would never buy a ticket to watch the Grizzlies not do everything they can to win. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's the object of the game. It's why we buy. It's why we sweat, cry, bleed, cheer, wave towels, get mad. And Drew, we were talking about this off the air yesterday. You think about what you put yourself through to be a sports fan.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you want to throw your hands up and go, what did I sign up for this for?
Well, they don't tell you the whole story when they say, oh, man, sports, be a fan. It's so much fun.
So great.
It's all fun and games. What they forget about is pain. There is real pain.
Go through the Hunter Henry heave, and you wonder, why did I sign up for this?
Here's another guy that says, the chances of us, meaning the Grizzlies, winning a championship in the age of player movement is slim to none, just not a destination for free agents. So we need to enjoy every moment, including going to the playoffs this year.
Amen. And remember, I set that up, and I said I didn't agree with what I was setting up.
But I'm going to say to him, the one thing the NBA has done right to try to protect the smaller markets is the extra year that you get if you stay with your team, known as the bird rights.
Yeah. And the Grizzlies have batted 1,000 when they wanted to keep somebody.
They have. And if you've got a Ja Morant who's not from that far away, right? I know he's from North Carolina, but he's got a whole big following in this region because of Murray State.
He embraces Smallville.
And he will only know Memphis and success, especially if they make the playoffs this year, right? I am saying to you, and I think the real barometer is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. If he stays in Milwaukee, why wouldn't you? They can pay him a whole extra year. If he stays there because they've built a team around him, then you say, if you're a small market, if you do things the right way and you build a team up around your superstar, you can keep your guy. If Giannis goes, I don't know what you say. You just hope that, well, John Morant and Jaren Jackson are different guys. But if these guys continue to win, and that includes playoffs in Ja's first year and Ja's second, Jaren's second, then you would go. Why would you go anywhere else? You're going to make more money to stay here.
The person alluding to moving by 2025, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I don't think there's any threat of it. But how cruel for this team and this town and this franchise to kind of go through these last few years, get Jaren, get Ja, have this unexpected year. Next year, win about 43, 44, be the 7 or 8 again. Then the go for it years.
Then you start getting first-round picks from all these deals that you've made. You're only not going to get one this year.
But then Jaren and Ja both decided to go to New York or Los Angeles.
Then you're heartbroken, and then again.
What was it worth it? What of it?
Well, it's worth it if you go to the playoffs this year. You had a 3-year plan, and you're way ahead of the game by 3 years. But you've got that opportunity, and to me, in respect to those that are spending all that money as season ticket holders, I think you got to go for it.
Now,
I'm not saying if Ja's hurt, he's going to gut it out and play. But if it's time for, here's the maintenance that we were talking about, because this is what we planned at the beginning of the year, and yet you need that win tonight in a winnable game, I'm thinking you're playing him. I'm thinking Ja wants to play.
Texter says 70% go to be entertained, 30% are sports buffs. So the 30% care about the record.
Oh, that's totally a different take.
You think that math is right?
No.
I don't either. I think it's a little high on the entertain. I think that scoreboard matters to people.
I'd probably switch it. 70% sports buff, 30 to go for entertainment.
I think minor league baseball might be the Texter's arithmetic.
Now, that is true for the Redbirds.
Yeah, you don't need.
But that is not true for the NBA. All you have to do is look at season tickets.
That's right. I respectfully disagree on that math, because winning sure matters to me. And it has been so unexpected and fun with the Grizzlies this year, contrasted with the Tiger year, contrasted with the Tiger football year. I threw this out the other day, and I go back to, and it sure would have been answered almost irrefutably with last night, with a loss last night, but it wasn't. Was the football season, was it more exhilarating, or is the Tiger basketball season more disappointing? The Grizzlies' unexpected season might trump both Tiger football and basketball, because you expected football. Favored in every game, rolled along. Nobody expected this from the Grizzlies.
Here's the deal. With those expectations came a lot of pressure. For Memphis to win all the games that they did, even getting robbed at Temple, and they still had to go out and win games, and the pressure that was on them every time out to
big money pressure
to get to the Cotton Bowl,
or Poulan Bowl.
There, to me, if we're talking about sports stories of the year for this contained 2021 1920
that was
season,
last year.
I'm saying
you read a sports story on us out last year.
It's a carryover
from the year before. When you read Carol Henderson out there,
it's a carryover season.
Last 6 months.
I'm just saying to you, to basically have the pressure of those expectations and to deliver, that's about as good as you can get.
Did we really believe in the expectations, though? I mean, going into the football season, being favored in all 12 games and knowing that we had the shot at it, did we truly believe that it was going to happen? I don't think even me and other diehard fans really truly believed that it was going to happen.
I believe they were really good.
But did you truly believe Cotton Bowl was going to happen? Without a doubt.
Because I picked 9-3.
Exactly. But in basketball, you truly 100% thought that Final Four was right there.
And for Grizzlies, 22-60.
I think I predicted 10-2. And,
you did.
And, everything's got to go right for you. You've got to be so fortunate injury-wise too, in order to pull that out. That to me will be the story, that they were able to get to the Cotton Bowl.
And I sure hope it's not somebody for the Memphis Grizzlies, but somebody rolling along right now in the NBA, whatever seed you want to pick, 1, 2, 8, there's an injury out there that's going to reshuffle the deck.
We've already seen one. In my mind, part of the reason why everybody's backed off of the Portland Trailblazers now and
Dave.
on to the Grizzlies is because Damian Lillard got hurt. We've already seen some of that.
Right here in Memphis last Wednesday night, he comes up very gimpy, and we know in sports, they're lying about the severity of the injury. I guarantee it's worse than they're saying.
I'm with you.
If they're saying 2 games, you can count on 6 because we lie bad about injury. In sports, we do, Dave.
This portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken doesn't lie. He comes out, he takes a look around, and he knows it's a big decision you're making. That's why he works closely with his clients to make sure they get exactly what they want and what they should expect, which is quality construction on time and on budget construction. That could be for a renovation. I call it renovation with innovation, where he takes all the new modern amenities and puts it into your older home. You love the lot. You love the location. Feels like a comfortable old shoe, but you want California closets. You want the island in the kitchen. You want big windows, which you need there, Mr. Norsworthy. You will get that with Ken Garland. And by the way, if you've got land you're not sure what to do with, well, he knows how to make that incredible dream home for you. Or if you're looking for something, he's got land for you. There's a new development called Alaylon. It's a gated community by Boyle. It's on Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. It's 4-bedroom homes. They start at $875. You will love this place. Go check it out, look around, and understand. Ken, he's got your back. You're interested in Ken Garland, call 751-1632 or go online at kengarland.com. Back to wrap up hour number 2 on this Thursday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. We do that in a minute.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry: Honda mowers, trimmers, and generators, Steel blowers, trimmers, and chainsaws, Echo trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws, plus quality products from Red Mat and Shindawa. And they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Is imitation the sincerest form of flattery? Not.
When it comes to your car audio.
Stereo One is the leader in car audio, remote start, security, and more for the past 30 years. Stereo One is proud to announce the grand opening of their new location, 1983 Covington Pike, across from the Honda dealership. To celebrate their new location, Stereo One has marked down their entire inventory. Remote start systems at $129.
With free installation.
Subwoofer base packages start at just $199. Window tint starting at $129. The entire inventory of radios and touchscreens with features like Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, and backup cameras are marked to go. Check out Stereo One before you buy online. Their knowledge, friendly sales staff, and pro installation team will take care of you. Visit the Stereo One new location today, 1983 Covington Pike, across from Honda, or visit their mega store at Mendenhall and Winchester. Make sure you go to the originators and not the imitators.
Stereo One is still the one for your auto accessories.
Into the unknown.
Are you headed into the unknown with the digital marketing for your business?
Into the unknown.
Maybe you can create the best digital content for your ad campaigns, but it's unknown whether you will find the time Or maybe measuring the results in analytics is unknown for you. Digital Mid-South can help you with the unknowns of digital marketing, website development, graphic design, social media marketing, search engine optimization, online video marketing, e-commerce, and more. Check out digitalmidsouth.com to learn how you can help with your online digital advertising campaigns, or call Brian White at 901-375-9324. That's Brian White, 901-375-9324. DigitalMidSouth.com. Digital content creation, delivery, and management.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
My world was strapped against my back.
Cruising through hour number 2. Don't forget, coming up at 5 o'clock, Matt Wyatt, Mississippi State broadcaster, talk about their basketball team and the chances to get to the NCAA, and a little more on the SEC. And
also
then,
get a read from Matt on the Pirate, safely ensconced in Starkville, Mike Leach.
I'd like to know what that reception has been like, because I'm excited for State fans, but the Pirate is, and we're talking Mike Leach here, is not exactly the kind of guy you would have first put Mike Leach in Starkville, but I do think it's going to be a great marriage. Speaking of which,
Pullman, Washington, though.
Well, that was purgatory because it didn't work out in Lubbock.
Have you ever been to Pullman?
Yeah.
You have? It's way out there in Eastern Washington.
Way out there, and I once asked the guy who became president there, because I hadn't been there at that point.
Lane Rollins.
I said, because I was thinking of like Seattle and other places that I've been in Washington. They have those islands that are right there that are just so beautiful. And Whidbey Island is incredible, and I've been there, spent part of my honeymoon there. And I said, so is Pullman just beautiful? He goes, hardly. The only people that really can appreciate Pullman, Washington are the ones that were born there.
We did the Google machine if Tigers in Boise State ever do anything in football. Drew, we did the driving, and flying to Seattle and driving to Boise is easier than driving Memphis to Boise, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Much easier.
Say that again?
Flying to Seattle.
Yeah.
Driving from Seattle to Boise, much easier than getting in a car and heading out from Memphis to Boise.
Oh, I buy that.
Take you almost like 2 days by car.
Oh, yeah, it's a long way.
Speaking of Mike
Yeah.
Leach, what kind of reception do you think he gets at SEC Media Days when he and the Bullies show on day 3?
So they're day 3
Day
now.
3. Day 1 will be national champion LSU and Ed Orgeron with Florida and Dan Mullen, and Missouri with their new coach, Eli Drinkwitz.
It's been a long time since I've been there. Please don't laugh at me. But do they change this up every year, the days that they come?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and almost any SEC national champion will be faded on first day.
Okay.
Yeah. On Tuesday, the second day, will be Georgia and Kirby Smart, Kentucky and Mark Stoops, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, and Vanderbilt and Drew's good buddy Derek Mason.
Oh, man, I would have loved to have Leach and Kiffin on the same day.
I lobbied for that, and I lobbied for have State and Ole Miss on the same day and on the last day to hold your crowd, because a lot of times people are pulling cords and trying to get out of there a little bit early on Thursday.
Keep Alabama for the fourth day, and you're going to get it.
Or Auburn, and that's what they did. They have Auburn on the fourth day. On the third day, on Wednesday, Alabama and Nick Saban, Arkansas and Sam Pittman, Mississippi State and Mike Leach, Tennessee and Jeremy Pruitt. That's a big local day for us.
Mm-hmm.
3 of the 4 teams, big local, and so is Alabama. On Thursday, Auburn and Gus Malzahn, South Carolina and Will Muschamp, Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher.
That's the last day?
Mm-hmm.
You got to say, that's the dullest of days.
It is.
Even though you got Auburn.
But you got a national championship head coach in there, in Jimbo.
Yeah, you do. And I would suspect he's going to start to feel a little bit of pressure about getting something going in College Station.
Will Muschamp probably, along with Derek Mason, the preseason hottest of hot seats, And Gus Malzahn with that amazing job of always getting on the hot seat.
And getting off.
Always getting off, and then always getting back on.
Well, that could be Auburn expectations.
Well, they're high.
They are.
You know, we were talking yesterday about margins of victories in games and what you prefer. I said I prefer a game in the 20s, but that Iron Bowl last year, 48-45, that was a great game to sit and watch.
Yeah. So you've got Drinkwitz, Kiffin, Leach, Pittman. Who else? Are those? Is it just 4 new coaches?
4 new coaches.
Four new coaches.
3 in the West.
Yeah.
And 3
new blood.
right here in our backyard.
New blood.
Yeah. And Arkansas fans just head over heels about Sam Pittman. And a great time to be the head coaches when you're 0-0.
Oh yeah, there is no doubt about that. This final portion of our show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and Free Brewery. You know about Free Brewery now. And that's when, well, it's slow because it's that time of year. Warehouse is full. Crews aren't quite all ready to go because it's kind of laid back. They need the spark business. And John goes, okay, we'll give stuff away. And that's what John's doing. Conway's giving away an 80% Carrier gas furnace free if you get a standard Carrier air conditioning system. You get the air conditioning system, you get the heat for free. And that is really good. But there's more. It's Free Brewery, right? Which means free April air cleaner. 10-year parts warranty, free. Nest thermostat, that's the latest and the greatest when it comes to technology, free. And 12 months interest-free. That's why they call it Free Brewery, and the phone call's free too. 384-3511, 384-3511. See what Free Brewery is all about at Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. To Starkville we go. Matt Wyatt from their radio network. He is next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Are you looking for senior care for your mom or dad but don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Joan London with The Place for Mom. Nobody knows your parent or loved one better than you, and nobody knows senior living better than the experts at A Place for Mom. It's a free service, and we've helped thousands of families find the right place for their mom or dad. There's a place for answers, A Place for Mom. Call today.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-391-1755. That's 1-800-391-1755.
Did you learn your ABCs when you were a kid? Well, as a grown-up, it's time to learn your CBDs, as in CBD edibles, oil tincture, pain cream, and beauty products, all found at Your CBD Store. With 3 locations, Poplar Avenue, North Germantown Parkway, and Goodman Road East. You'll find all natural, organic, and non-GMO products. Need to learn more? Your CBD Store has a knowledgeable and friendly staff that can answer questions, help with choices, and put you at ease about your CBDs. Your CBD Store with 3 locations, Poplar Avenue, Cordova, and South Haven. Your CBD Store, making it as easy for you as ABC CBD.
The Vault on G.E. Patterson in South Main downtown has all your game day needs with 30 TVs. If your game is not on one of the 20 big screens, then sit in a booth with your own remote. The Vault has game day specials on pitchers, buckets of beer, and great food, which is the best thing about the Vault. This is not your normal sports bar. Chef Dirk Meitzler from On Tour and Cafe 621 has all his favorites like Chicken Newport and his new lobster enchilada. Open for lunch and dinner every day with lunch specials for $12 weekdays with a drink. The Vault on G.E. Patterson in South Main, your downtown place to eat, drink, and watch the game. game.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also keep up to date with everything going on by keeping up with Sports 56 on social media. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch for information on breaking news, chances to win prizes, and video of all the shows. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 on social media. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sportstime is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome in, hour number 3 in the sunshine. You know, I love this light later, and we've got when is
Sunday
daylight savings
night,
time?
the 7th.
Oh, it's coming.
Is that right?
Is that right?
Saturday night, the 7th, into Sunday, the 8th. Yeah.
You're basically talking 3 weeks here.
Well, 2 weeks from Sunday.
2 weeks from Sunday. Wow. I love it when
2 weeks from Sunday. Spring up.
We're going to
It'll be 6:01
in a minute. Matt Wyatt will be joining us momentarily.
Matt White will join us momentarily after I tell you about the title sponsor of this hour, and that's down on Goodman Road at DeSoto Auto Sales. Check out the referrals at DeSotoAutoSales.com, 5704 Goodman Road. Very high standards at DeSoto Auto Sales. All the cars test-driven, all checked out, head to toe, bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you at DeSoto Auto Sales. It'll be on the lot. They've got a lot of cars down on Goodman Road at DeSoto Auto Sales. No shortcuts taken. They treat you like family, kind, courteous employees, laid-back, down-home environment. No high-pressure sales, but they do care about your time and want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. And what is that? They know we're living in a world today that time matters, and they want you to walk in, test drive your car, meet with your sales rep, credit approved, paperwork completed, all in less than an hour, in about 45 minutes. Can do it on your lunch hour, can do it immediately after work. Check out the referrals at DeSotoAutoSales.com at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County, to DeSoto Auto Sales for that town and country experience. Joining us now, radio and podcast host on Twitter at Radio White, also analyst on Mississippi State football. I know he has been talking the big Mississippi State win last night. Matt White joins us now. Matt, the Bullies needed it last night, and they got it. It was ugly. It was SEC basketball with every foul being called.
We love it, man. We love free throws around here,
Don't we?
I think. We might as well. I'm not sure what we can do about it. But, yeah, it was ugly. You know, and you said State needed it, Brett. They need them all.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Kind of the position they found themselves in. Yeah.
Yeah, the Tigers in that position. Look, it's February 20th. There are a couple old true maxims about college basketball from this point forward. Every game's a must, and you about are who you are at this point. You're not going to go out and radically become a trapping and pressing team if you've been a zone team heretofore.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, one thing we can say about State is you look at all these close games. That's kind of the consistent thing about this team this year under Ben Howland is close games. Now, there's some exceptions, certainly. They got run out of the gym in Oxford a couple of weeks ago after leading in that game. You know, another thing we've seen is big leads for them, 12-point lead here, 14 there. It's going to be a close game. And they've lost some close ones, but they've won some of these close ones too. So I think if any State fan is looking for a silver lining, Brett, what it is in reality, it's a team that if they play themselves into the NCAA tournament somehow, it's going to benefit them having played for a solid month where every game their back's against the wall. Just like you said, they're all must win. So like last night, it felt like an NCAA tournament game because for all intents and purposes, you lose it, it's your tournament deal's over, right? So if they play themselves in, this whole, for a solid month, having your back against the wall may actually help them.
Matt, I I watched Ben Howland at UCLA take him to the Final Four a few times. I know what a good coach he is. But I've also noticed that this hasn't worked out kind of the way they thought it was going to when they hired Ben Howland to be their head coach. How much patience is there? What would the consensus be like if they did not make the NCAA tournament this year?
That's the question. And I don't know that I have a direct, succinct answer, like a yes, he stays, no, he goes, at this point. Just because, Dave, it's like right now they're winning a little bit. Right now they're still on that first 4 out sort of deal. There's hope. And so I don't think you're to the point yet where there's tremendous negativity swirling around. But, lose the wrong game or, lose again to Ole Miss because that's important to State fans. Lose and don't get in the tournament after being a 5 seed last year and getting bounced in the first round. Then maybe some of that negativity starts to swirl. But we're not there yet. And these close wins and hanging on and continue to be on that bubble right now, if that continues, we won't get there for a little while.
Matt, you mentioned last year, and you brought it up first. Boy, we don't ever forget anything, do we? And when you get disaffected or when you get mad, you can bring up things from the past. And Rick Barnes, he's still kind of in trouble a little bit at Tennessee for losing to Loyola. Never mind the run they got on. But last year, that loss to Liberty, that won't be forgotten for a while.
I don't think so, because it felt, Brett, like it had been such a long time coming for State to be there and be in that position. I mean, forget being a 5 seed, which is pretty tall cotton, man, just being in the tournament. It had been a long time coming. And that's on top of this really peculiar thing that's going on with State right now, and that is kind of the lack of fan support. They had a really poor crowd in there last night. For that game, crunch time. We're talking about crunch time here in February, and there's nobody in there. And even last year, some of those home games, you had a couple of games at home that they hosted where they had crowds, and Ole Miss home games always going to be one of those. But the crowd support not there also. So it just felt like, okay, the program had such ground to make up. You hired Ben Howland. He's slowly but surely building this roster. He's got a Reggie Perry. Then, you're in the tournament, and if you can make that run, you can win a game or two, do something special, it's going to get all your fan base back on board too. So that's a big part of this, is that right now, for whatever reason, the fan base just hasn't bought into that bench program yet.
Well, I hate to say it, but this is what killed Tubby Smith when the fans stop caring and they don't come. This is what got Ben Howland in trouble in Los Angeles by the style of play when he wouldn't let Russell Westbrook be an offensive player.
He got Mike
He
Anderson
was the
last
defensive specialist.
Those empty seats matter.
Those are the things that, and I hate to say it, end up killing you. And I didn't realize there was beginning to be that apathy in the program. And when you don't have a crowd for a conference game down the stretch, and you still got a shot, that is surprising in Starkville.
It is, and again, it's such an interesting dynamic here right now, guys, because if you were to like go up to 30,000 feet and just take an overview of the entire fan base, people are really interested in everything, every piece of information, every tweet they can get about Mike Leach in football right now. They are chomping at the bit for every baseball game to happen. Midweeks, baseball. And I think in reality, you're in crunch time, home stretch time of men's basketball, and people just aren't as interested in it as they are those other two things right now. I think that is reality.
We've always known the football monster, but now we've kind of got the growing hydra of the baseball monster.
Well, I was going to ask him, and this goes back to Ron Polk and all those great teams that he had. I would have said for the last 30 years, hasn't baseball really been more important to State fans than basketball?
Year in and year out, I would say yes. Now, again, if we go back, you guys remember it. I think if I'm trying to go back and find that that peak for men's basketball and the interest. I go back to about 2004, Lawrence Roberts, Timmy Bowers, Rick Stansberry coaching those guys. And at that time, you'd had a solid decade going back to the mid-'90s, and the Final Four team of every home game was sold out. It was, every conference game in 2004 with Lawrence Roberts on that team was 9,000 to 10,000 people in there every single night.
Yeah, he was player of the year in the SEC.
That's right. And what happened is it began to deteriorate with Renardo Sidney. Right after that run, when, you fast forward another, 2 signing classes or so, by the time Renardo Sidney got there, that was such a polarizing thing. When a coach has been there, like Stansberry has been there for a decade, your fan base begins to split a little bit.
Right.
And the fight out in Hawaii, and that led to his ouster, and then comes Rick Ray. And the product on the floor, the recruiting, and therefore the fan support died. It didn't just go away. I think in reality it died, and they have yet to revive it. That's just where it is.
The optics of the fight in the stands out in Hawaii, it was hard to overcome it. But by this point, with a proven coach in Ben Howland, I would have thought it had been a turn made. Reggie Perry is all that. He should be
He's good.
Appointment going. If I'm in school at State, I want to go out and watch him every night.
Well, and Brett, that's the thing too that I have a hard time wrapping my head around is, from a student standpoint. We didn't miss one either when I was in
Wouldn't miss one.
And if you weren't there, my teammates they'd call you up and say, "Hey, where are you? What's going on? Are you sick? Why aren't you here with us?" So it's just a different era for some reason. And on the baseball thing, that's kind of the point I was going to make is, you go back, State's had so much success in baseball that fans have just gravitated to it. And now they have that facility there to where here we are in February, and I promise you there will be 2 times, 3 times as many people at a baseball game when the sun is out than they will be in the hump for a men's basketball game right now.
We loved, when I went to Southern Illinois, we loved our baseball team and Itchy Jones, but I got to tell you, basketball was the first priority. But I don't think it's been that way for a long time at Mississippi State.
And State's not alone. Ole Miss very much like that. If LSU basketball is not peak, and it is right now, baseball sure takes some predominance over it. Arkansas even. Their crowds last weekend.
The last few years, they've been unbelievable how they draw baseball.
And that facility, and the Texas A&M arguably, Matt, for baseball.
That's right.
I think.
I'd love to know you guys' opinion on this, but I felt like when the SEC Network came along in 2014, it was going to throw exposure, a new level of consistent, broadcast exposure to baseball that it had never had. And we always talked about, what it was going to mean for football, what it was going to mean for basketball, and those things are well documented. But those 2 sports were already getting wall-to-wall exposure even before the SEC Network came along. So when the SEC Network comes on, now all of a sudden baseball is on everybody's phone, everybody's iPad, midweek games, weekend games, Thursday night on the network. And it threw a new level of exposure to that sport that it had never had. And slowly, as we look up here now 6 years later after the network came along, and, man, Arkansas fans are bought in, State fans, Ole Miss fans. And I really believe that SEC Network had a lot to do with it.
Great point. I do, too. Have you met Mike Leach? Have you met the Pirates yet?
I met him, got to talk to him and do an interview, Brett, on the day that he was announced as the head coach. And let me tell you, I'm impressed. Guys, you know what he did? When he got through with the interview, and I'm tossing it to break, I said, "Thanks, we're going to be right back. If you're listening, this is Mike Leach," and I don't know. Instead of like a lot of coaches throwing down the headset and taking off to the next appointment, he put the headset down. He stood up, and even though he had people waiting on him holding the door, he waited for me to finish into the commercial break so that he could talk to me off the air, say thanks, and then be on his way. Little things like that he's a genuine person. I think you'll find that when you get a chance to talk to him.
Well, he also was a broadcaster. He understands the distraction and the noise that it might make, and there's an appreciation for that. And the other thing is, he's smart. Let's be honest. I think he's one of the smartest guys out there. Most football coaches are pretty bright. You got to be a chess master to play with all those different pieces that you're playing with. But there's something about him that goes beyond just the football smarts. I think he's an intriguing guy, and I was saying I think before we introduced you that he wouldn't have been the first guy that I would have thought of that would be a fit in Starkville, but honestly, I think he's a fit wherever you go because he makes the game interesting. He makes it sort of special.
Hey, and you guys saw the SEC Media Day schedule that came out today.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's an accident to you that they put Lane Kiffin in the afternoon on Tuesday and Mike Leach in the afternoon on Wednesday. I think they know what they're doing because, both those guys are just such interesting stories and individuals, newcomers to the league that the entire league is buzzing about. And from a Mike Leach perspective, this is one thing I do know, keeping an eye on kind of what they're doing in the off season and stuff. They may lose some games when teams have better players, and they may lose some games on a play here or there. They're not going to lose any games because they're out of shape or because they have been outworked. Really impressed with what he and his staff have going on in this off-season strength and conditioning stuff. And as y'all know, that's baseline in the SEC. If you're not, outworking the rest of the country in this league, the strength and conditioning stuff will leave you behind. And that's something that's been missing here the last couple of years. And I think they're correcting that right away.
And I think most fans, and of course they couldn't and wouldn't be able to know just the work done when there are no lights, no cameras, no glory, no adulation, the grind, and even after when the summer starts, I mean it's a lot of they have to do it on their own or with the strength and conditioning guy, and nobody's around to get better. You got to do it really in anonymity.
Absolutely, Brett. Absolutely, 100%. That's when you win and lose.
Yeah,
that's when you don't like State's going to improve their passing game. Well, listen, they're not going to improve their passing game all that much in 15 spring practices or in 1 month of practicing in August. They're going to improve their pass game with what KJ Costello and these quarterbacks do in May, June, and July when Coach Leach is spending, time up in his office or he's in Key West. That's when you do. I mean, ask Joe Brady and Joe Burrow. They didn't transform their pass game in 15 spring practices or in 2-a-days. It was Joe Burrow and those receivers that had a quota that they had to meet on their own and held each other accountable. They threw and caught more passes than anybody in the country in off-season workouts. And then it showed with their continuity in the fall. And so that's what's going to tell the tape on this offense is, what does KJ Costello do to, in 3 months, May, June, and July, to develop chemistry with those receivers and to become one of the guys, because you have to be, just one of the guys, and if you're going to lead them. And they're going to have to ramp that up in just 3 months before August rolls around.
Well, just by personnel, I would have to think that they were trying to integrate more of the open offense that Mike Leach is going to run because of the way Joe Moorhead ran an offense. So that probably that evolution had already begun, which would only be helpful. Is that true, or do you think it's going to take Leach a while to get his kind of guys in there?
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's going to be a situation where, it's going to take time to recruit guys or install their system. So a couple things on that, Dave. I talked to Steve Spurrier Jr. yesterday. He's the outside receivers coach. And he just point blank said, hey, listen, man, our program and our offense is not one of these deals where it's going to take us a year or two to recruit the players we need and all that kind of stuff. He said it just doesn't work that way. He said we're going to throw for a bunch of yards with guys we've got right now. And he likes some of what he has, especially the tight end position. which they didn't have at Washington State. The personnel State has. The other thing is Mike Leach will tell you straight up. He said it to us reporters. People thought he was joking, and they chuckled when he said it. He said, well, we're not going to be a well-oiled machine by any stretch in week 1 of spring practice. He said, but we'll pretty much have the offense in by week 2. And everybody kind of giggled, and he didn't. He was actually telling the truth. You talk to some of the staff, they said, listen, we'll have it installed really quickly, and then we'll have it repped out, the entire offense. In those 15 practices, we'll have all of the plays repped out by, 2 or 3 times each, and then we'll just have the retention. We'll go run that stuff out of different formations in the fall. So this is a group of players, Dave, that is going from a state of being overwhelmed with the size of the playbook for the last 2 years, being confused about what to do at every position, to this group of players, by the time they get out of spring, they are not going to be overwhelmed. They're not going to be confused. It's not going to be complicated. If anything, it's going to be so simple that you're like, is this really a college offense? And I think that's just going to free them up to just go play. And then with guys, we'll find out what they can actually do because they won't be confused with what they're running.
Matt, Steve Spurrier Jr.'s parents will come to Starkville for some games. Oh, to be the fly on the wall for Steve Spurrier and Mike Leach talking football.
Can you imagine? I mean, look, and I mentioned SEC Media Days earlier. Let me just say, it's a mistake not to have a Steve Spurrier time, even though he's not coaching.
Open
just
mic night.
Bring him down.
They should.
Days.
You're right.
They really should.
They ought to pay him to do it.
Absolutely.
Of course, the last time he was there, Matt, and I felt bad about it because I loved him. And at the time, there was a time we were pretty big buds, and we kind of butted heads when he took the shot at teams celebrating going 6-6 and going to the Poulan Bowl. Remember when he took that shot at? I
do. I'd forgotten.
And he called Arkansas and Ole Miss out by name, and I jumped in. I said, but Coach, you've been there with programs. You were there at Duke. You were there at South Carolina. I said, you know why they're so proud of going 6-6 and going to the Poulan Bowl. And we kind of went at it, and then he left the stage, and he came over to me and said, I was just kidding. I said, no, I don't know that, Coach. You didn't sound like you were kidding, and I thought you were better than that. And we kind of butted heads, and I feel bad about it.
Well, you, Brett, don't feel bad about it. Most guys like that, they're going to respect you more when you put your feet in concrete and you have your opinions and don't move anyway. If you'd wavered and started tying his shoes for him, he wouldn't respect you as much. And I'll tell you, Brett, at South Carolina, their plan when he got there, they would tell you, their plan was, we got to figure out a way to just go 6-6 as much as we can for as long as we can, and then after a half a decade of that, then we can make that next step. And I know that because when Scott Strickland was the athletics director at State, and when he got the job, in a conversation once, he mentioned to me State had been in a position they're trying to follow the South Carolina model, which was just get yourself in the postseason consistently. And it may take a decade of that, but if you can do it, then you can make that next step, and it takes time to do it. So you were right, because you go back and look at their every single year, South Carolina, there were years they'd start the year out 6-0, 5-1, and finish.
Hang on.
6-6.
Yeah. Right.
And they did it a bunch under Steve Spurrier.
Matt, always
great stuff.
A pleasure chatting with you. We'll do it again soon. Hopefully you'll enjoy some of the basketball. I know you're going to enjoy the baseball this year, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. We'll be there this weekend. Guys, thank y'all.
Thank you, Matt.
Matt Wyatt from the
Fun.
Mississippi State Radio Network. I can't think.
Do you remember
all the fond memories I have of Jack Crystal?
Oh, yeah.
I think of Mississippi State.
He's got it. And Jim
radio.
And Jim.
But
it's a good crew.
It goes back for me with Jack Crystal, no question
it
about
sure does. You remember the ugly exchange with me and Spurrier that year? And
yeah, I do.
I felt terrible. I swear, I got home from SEC Media Days and told my brother, I said, I hope nothing happens to him. And my last encounter with him was that ugly.
I had a great last encounter with him. He was the last press conference in the history of the Alliance of American Football, the Memphis Express.
Yeah,
he was there. I was there for that.
He's claiming a title.
He was claiming. He absolutely was claiming a title.
And I loved him.
And he was so lucky to win that game. And I tried to point that out to him, and he just laughed. And I think he kind of knew it, but he was very humorous. I love Steve Spurrier. I really did.
He was a great high school baseball pitcher. And
he was a great high school everything.
Guard, and won a state championship and pitched a 1 or 2 hitter here in Memphis in the most oppressive heat. Just everybody about to die in an early June game, but a real early summer heat wave. And he talks about it very fondly in that game. And last summer at SEC Media Days, he told the story of he was probably going to Ole Miss until Ray Graves in Florida kind of swooped in at the end. He was going to Ole Miss to play for Coach Vaught.
Why was he never considering in-state Tennessee, not far from where he was?
Well, that was always the sore point.
They didn't come after him.
He never forgot.
I know it. And he loves sticking it to him. That is,
he never forgot.
For sure. Thinking about Mississippi State, you know what else comes to my mind every time I think of Mississippi State? Right down the road, Old Waverly.
What if Mike Leach is a golfer?
I don't know. I do not know that. But I know Dan Mullen was.
He's got a good place to play.
I know Dan Mullen. Part of the reason he took that job was because his wife was a heck of a golfer. You could be a heck of a golfer if you get the right equipment. Well, you really need lessons, to be totally honest with you. But the place to get the equipment, not the lessons, although you can test the equipment, is at Edwin Watts. This new store is incredible. They used to have 1 bay. I think they got 3 bays there now. Same putting. I don't know if the break is still too popular, but there's a big area. And any new equipment, any new technology, you name it, if it's golf, guess who has it? Edwin Watts. And I'm serious. Used to be you always would go to your club, right? But even the clubs don't keep up in the pro shop with the kind of equipment that is brand new, that is now all over the place. Only one place in Memphis does that, Edwin Watts. And when you walk into Edwin Watts, there's only one of them now. You walk into Edwin Watts, you're going to meet somebody you know, and you can kibitz golf and learn about the new equipment. And Jay Hasselman and that crew, well, they're just the very best
fantastic
at explaining it. They make you want to go there. They make you love the game. And they have everything. It's simple. Please get to the new Edwin Watts right there at I-40 and Poplar Avenue in that little strip center where they got all these things. It's a great place. You'll love it. Tell them we sent you. Edwin Watts Golf. Back in a minute, more college basketball. Our good friend Blake Lovell from Clutch Points app and Blue Ribbon Magazine. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
The construction reduction event is on at Wolf Chase Honda. Exciting changes are in the works and inventory must be reduced. Get the best deals right now on all remaining 2019 Hondas while they last. Every new car, every certified, every used car, price to go. Get pre-approved now at wolfchasehonda.com. Wolf Chase Honda is expanding and our prices are dropping. Don't miss these savings. Act now. This huge construction reduction event ends soon.
For the best lineup of quality, fuel-efficient, and fun-to-drive vehicles, get to Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan. Over 1,000 new certified and pre-owned vehicles in one great location. Catch the savings now during our huge model year-end sales event. Score an amazing deal at Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan and get to the game in style at Germantown Road and Highway 64. Family-owned since 1981.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know: Ben Swinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 125 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Ben Swinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Ben Swinger Glass in Midtown, located at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit their website, benswingerglass.com. Ben Swinger Glass.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Did you learn your ABCs when you were a kid? Well, as a grown-up, it's time to learn your CBDs, as in CBD edibles, oil tincture, pain cream, and beauty products. All found at your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, North Germantown Parkway, and Goodman Road East. You'll find all natural, organic, and non-GMO products. Need to learn more? Your CBD store has a knowledgeable and friendly staff that can answer questions, help with choices, and put you at ease about your CBDs. Your CBD store, with 3 locations: Poplar Avenue, Cordova, and South Haven. Your CBD store, making it as easy for you as ABC CBD.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Blake Lovell going to join us here in a minute. We had a lot of fun. Brett and I had a chance 2 nights ago to go to dinner with our good friends, Pete Gillen and Carter Blackburn.
It was quite entertaining.
But I got to tell you, the one who stole the show. I mean, it was fun taking them to dinner, but you know who stole the show last night? So smart of her. You know what I'm talking about? No, you don't. I'm going to let you know. Becky Dinstall. Guess who brought strawberries and cashew crunch to Gillen and Blackburn? And they, of course, tried it right there because I saw it. They didn't offer me any. They tried it right there, and you know they were wowing about it on the air.
Boy, they ate well while they were in town.
They did. They ate really well, but my goodness, I can only tell you this. They got the best, and it's the best. Nobody does chocolate-covered strawberries, and they're available. You know, you got it for your sweetheart this Valentine's Day, but nobody does the strawberries like Dinstall's. That's the truth, because they have this special fondant. So first, they only take fresh strawberries. Right now, it's Louisiana. Then they enrobe it in this fondant before they dip it in the chocolate. And you get the most juicy, locked-in, sweet strawberries. I mean, it is an experience. And, of course, there's cashew crunch and turtlettes, and we had fun on Valentine's week enjoying all of that. Get to Dinstall's, and now we got all these locations. It started Pleasant View and Laurelwood and Germantown, and now you got Collierville, and the new one is open downtown. I'm only hearing rave things right by the Majestic. That's where it is. Peabody Place, I think it's called. Anyway, get down there, 5 different places, make sweet memories like they've been doing for 120 years at Dinstall's.
Blake Lovell joins us now from Clutch Points app and Blue Ribbon Magazine. Marching to Madness, locked on the SEC. What all are you doing, Blake? Anything I leave out?
I was going to say, again, it may take longer to do the part of how many things I'm doing right now than the actual interview. So we'll just save some of them.
Blake, it's the time of the year, almost sleep deprivation month for all of us, months for all of us. The college basketball, so intriguing. We've asked kind of as a general theme today, mediocrity or parity, and I think it's a good mix of both. It's not one or the other. I think it's mostly parity. In the SEC, there are some teams that look about the same, and we were talking about the Big Ten earlier, Dave, and I think the Big Ten with all the hoopla around them, a lot of those teams look the same too.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's a huge difference in terms of just looking at one conference and saying, well, that conference is necessarily superior to all these others, just because it's sort of the same situation in all the conferences right now in terms of how all these games are playing out, because you just have a lot of teams that are beating up on each other, and as we're seeing, even the teams that are at the very top, they're not vulnerable to this type of stuff. They're getting beat too, and so that makes it a lot more interesting. But no doubt, especially in the SEC, I look at it right now, and I'll tell you guys, I think that going back to last year, I don't think we could have said that any of the teams in the bottom four in the standings could have made the run probably to an SEC tournament, championship game or anything like that. But this year, I think right now you can look at Ole Miss, you can look at Arkansas, you look at Missouri, all these different teams. If Alabama gets hot, it's so wide open, and I don't remember it being like this, to be honest with you, for several years now.
I wonder, is it harder for you this time of year to figure it all out, or at the very beginning, that first, time you're really looking for bracketology to try to really figure out all of the information that will go into what makes a quad one game. In other words, initializing the formulas that you will determine,
studying the net,
where you're going?
I think it's harder this time of year, honestly, guys, because I think that going into the season, early in the year, even just taking it, let's say that first month of the season, we think we have an idea of what teams look like, and we've had the entire preseason to sort of mold our own opinion on teams. And so we go into that, and even no matter what happens in November, rarely do we change our opinion, I think, all that much. I mean, certainly if a team loses 5 in a row and we thought they would be, a team that was in the top 10 or something, that's a drastic change. But otherwise, I think you still sort of have those opinions. But once you get to this point in the season, you have a 25, 26-game sample size, and it's harder to, I think, find the difference between a lot of these teams, especially in a season like this. And so, yeah, it's definitely tougher, I think, because it's hard to say, okay, well, yeah, that team may do this well, or that team may have this quad one win or quad two win or whatever. But actually separating and knowing, who are those teams that are going to stand above the rest, that's easy to do with maybe a handful this year. That may even be a lot, but overall, it's a lot harder to do.
I was looking at a whole bunch of bracketologies just the other day, and to my amazement, Georgetown is still in on some of the brackets. Here's a team that is 15-11, 5-8. Granted, they're in a good league.
Had personnel trouble.
5-8 in their league, and you're telling me they're going to be in? I mean, we got 68 teams we got to get in, and I guess that's an example of it, huh?
Yeah, no, it is, and I think you talk about their conference record. And I know Joe Lenardi, ESPN, he put out a poll about how he's getting a lot of reactions on it about whether teams should be led into the NCAA tournament, required to have a 500 record in their conference. That's one that you're going to have a lot of different debates about in terms of whether teams should be that. The teams in the tougher conferences are going to say, well, that's not necessarily fair. If we have a team that goes 8-10 versus another conference that isn't strong, how is that more deserving? And so it is very interesting, though. You talk about a team like Georgetown, who's right there still in the mix. Even guys take Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas is 4-9 right now in SEC play, but they're among the next 4 out. So they are probably, I think they're the 6th team out on Lenardi's board right now at 4-9. Now, their case is a little bit different because they've been without arguably either their best player or second best player, whichever way you want to put it, and Isaiah Joe, and they've lost 5 in a row. But any way you slice it, I mean, if they go into, if they're 6-12 in the SEC, it doesn't matter how many games Isaiah Joe missed, they're not going to get into the tournament. You got to feel it, I guess, but the bubble is very interesting, that's for sure.
Blake, where are you on that debate question? Do you think if you're under 500, you should or shouldn't go? Because I don't really care what your conference record is if you're one of the best at-large teams.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like I said, I mean, if you ask me, let's say the best conference in America, if you use all the metrics and, you can use your own eye test, whatever you want to use. If you look at the best conference in America and there's a team that goes, 8-10 or whatever, is that team, let's say, lost to just of their 10 losses in league play, let's say they lost 7 of the top 25 type of team. can you really say that just because they don't have a 500 record in their league that they shouldn't get in if they beat a bunch of teams, in that, let's say they beat one of the top 25 teams or two of them, and then they beat a lot in that 25 to 50 range. I just don't think you can do that, and it wouldn't make any sense to me to try to play that game because every conference is different, every conference strength is different every single season, and I just don't think that would be a good move.
Well, in my argument, let's just say for a team like Arkansas or Georgetown, Arkansas is 4-9 now. They've lost 5 games in a row. If it matters what you do at the end, and they've still got time. I'm not saying they're out for sure at this very moment.
Got to get hustling.
But they've lost 5 games in a row. Where Florida, we were talking just a week ago, it didn't look like they were going to make it, and Mike White's on the hot seat, and they've won 3 in a row. So that does really matter. And they're 5 games over 500 in their league. They're 8 games over 500 total.
Still think
here's
very
Arkansas,
good,
16-10. They've lost 5 games in a row, and they're 4-9 in their league. It's hard for me to make an argument that they deserve to be in that field.
And their big win is non-conference at Assembly Hall, and now against Indiana. And now, what does that really mean?
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's the thing too. Is your wins look a lot different as the season goes along, and what you thought was a great win in December, by the time you get to February or the 1st of March, it doesn't look as good anymore. That's why. Like you're saying, in terms of looking at how a team's playing down the stretch. And, it used to be, what was the last 10, the NCAA tournament committee used to really emphasize, your final 10 games, how did you play in that? They talk about how that's not as emphasized anymore. They may say that, but I think it certainly still plays into, a fact. It's just human nature. If you want to field the best teams, you want to have teams that are playing really well right now. And if they've proven they can do it elsewhere throughout the season, then certainly you take a look at them. But yeah, the whole debate I think is very fascinating just because, like we're saying, I don't know that there's a perfect solution to it, but at the same time, it should be one where you try your best to field the best teams you can. And even if that involves, in my opinion, a team that may be 1 game under 500 in their conference, I think at that point it's still something to where you can probably look at it and say, is the 8-10 team in one conference better than a 10-8 team in another conference? I think you could strongly make the case that 8-10 team could be, but there's lots of different factors to go into it.
Should East Tennessee State, with Steve Forbes the head coach, and Vermont, even if they don't win the automatic bid, what they've done in the round robin in conference, should they be in?
I think East Tennessee State, if you go and you want to field the best team, I think watching East Tennessee State, they've won at LSU. They've won on the road at Greensboro, which I know for the average fan that may not mean a whole lot, but that's actually a really, really good win. They've beaten them twice. They got the win against Furman, which again, that's another one that's actually a really good win. I mean, if you're trying to field, would you rather have East Tennessee State or Georgetown? And I think that's the debate we're always going to have is, a situation like that. Let's say Arkansas rallies and gets to 8-10 in the SEC play. Are you going to take East Tennessee State or are you going to take Arkansas? And it's just, that's why this whole thing is very fascinating. You mentioned Vermont too. I mean, Vermont's a team that we've seen. I mean, over the years, they've been one of the teams that have just dominated that conference. And, the America East has never been a conference that's just going to go out and get multiple bids. We realize that. But, they've won at St. John's. They've played a strong schedule. And it's just, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's just, I don't know, like it is. But I would love to see East Tennessee Stadium because, again, if you just watch them play, they're a really good team, and they're a team that could win multiple games, I think, in terms of setting.
I'm curious. Are they the best team in the state of Tennessee?
Well, I mean, it very well could be. I mean, realistically, I guess look at it. That's pretty much. I would say, yeah. I mean, I think you look around, and I mean, honestly, let's go down the board. I mean, it's not. Memphis, we know we've had that discussion. Tennessee's not playing well right now. Vanderbilt's gotten better, but they're still not to that point. Belmont. I mean, even teams like that. I mean, you have to look at teams like. But there's no doubt. I don't think anyone would want to play East Tennessee State right now. any of these teams in Tennessee in the power conferences or whatever. So, yeah, I think you could make the argument they're the best team.
If Memphis played East Tennessee State on a neutral floor, who would be favored? And I know there's a lot of Steve Forbes lovers in this state and at this radio station, for that matter.
I would probably, Memphis would be favored, but I would probably, watching both teams play, I would favor East Tennessee State. So, and
if you use UNC Greensboro or Furman, which are really good teams, and they've both won 22 games and they're 12-3 in the Southern. If they were
Greensboro narrowly beat Vermont.
If they were to upset East Tennessee State, I guess we'll find out if that league would get two bids.
Yeah, I think, let's say East Tennessee State gets to the championship game with SoCon and plays either Greensboro or Furman. Now, if it's someone else outside of that group, I think then you lose to them in the championship game, it knocks you a little more. But if those three are in that scenario and East Tennessee State's one of them, and they lose to either one of those, I just think at that point they would still have a really good chance to get in. Like I said, but you wouldn't be able to be against a Chattanooga or Wofford, anyone like that. It would have to be a loss to either Greensboro or Furman. In that scenario, I think at that point, if they went out the rest of their games, I think at that point they would certainly deserve a bid.
Here's what I think. I would much rather see them in, if they lose, than Minnesota.
Me too.
Or Purdue under 500, 7-9 or 6-9 in the Big Ten, and actually Minnesota's under 500.
Yeah.
That is just me. As always, my friend, we thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Blake. Enjoy the weekend. It's
always
that time.
Enjoy it, guys.
Thank you.
That is Blake Lovell. You know him. You love him. You read him at Clutch Points app and at Blue Ribbon Magazine. We've got, and this could be the story that I could have done without, but Kyrie Irving is going to have season-ending shoulder surgery. He missed 26 games earlier this year with this injury. This time it's going to be season-ending. He wants to get it done. He's averaging 27.5 points a game. The thing that I kind of feel bad for, the Brooklyn Nets, they've been doing this without him a lot and without Kevin Durant, and yet through all of that, they've actually hung in there. They're in the 7th spot. They're 3 games under 500. Can they make
Bobby
it
will
now?
stay there.
You think they will?
What's the rear guard look like against
the 9th spot? So they're 7th, and at this point they're basically 2 games ahead of Orlando. But then the Washington Wizards are 5 games behind them. The Bulls are 7 games behind them. Remember, there's only 28 games left.
Yeah.
They're probably going to make it anyway.
And will be pounded in the first round.
Oh, yeah. Orlando will probably pass them by. They're only 2 games behind them. It'll be interesting.
Kyrie Irving hadn't been able to catch the blessing of good health, has he?
No. Maybe with all this time off, and he and Durant they'll make something happen. I got to ask you a question. Maybe you guys know this. You see on the unis that Brooklyn is now wearing at home, it says bed-STUY. What does that mean?
I have no idea.
I think it's for a neighborhood in Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuy.
Bedford-Stuy? That's got to be
Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.
Very good. Out of nowhere,
Man,
Drew comes up with a big one there.
I know some things.
Did you have it on video? You knew what the pitch was coming?
No.
Okay.
I'm glad you knew. I swear.
I didn't hear any trash cans banging.
I was looking at the uniform, like on they were doing the highlights, or I was watching them. I can't remember which. I'm going, what the heck does that say? Bed-Stuy for Bedford-Stuy neighborhood in Brooklyn. Wow. Cool. We take a timeout. When we come back, more gems like that. We got crunch time coming your way as we wrap up this Thursday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 mornings with Peter Edmiston and CJ Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. And we'll give you this barbershop quartet who'll sing the name of the perfect hire.
Vince Lundy.
Vince Lundy.
Vince Lundy.
Okay, there's no quartet. But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Visit Indeed.com/promo today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
There are plenty of places in Memphis where you can enjoy live music. But if you want to enjoy music in a perfect throwback atmosphere, you can't beat the Underground Lounge downstairs from 3rd and Court. Everything about the Underground Lounge is designed to make you feel like you're in a classic nightclub. Live music, signature original cocktails you can't find anywhere else, and a vibe that makes you feel like you're back in the days when class and fun went hand in hand. Come downtown and visit the Underground Lounge downstairs from 3rd and Court for a swinging good time.
Did you learn your ABCs when you were a kid? Well, as a grown-up, it's time to learn your CBDs, as in CBD edibles, oil tincture, pain cream, and beauty products, all found at Your CBD Store. With 3 locations, Poplar Avenue, North Germantown Parkway, and Goodman Road East. You'll find all natural, organic, and non-GMO products. Need to learn more? Your CBD Store has a knowledgeable and friendly staff that can answer questions, help with choices, and put you at ease about your CBDs. Your CBD Store with 3 locations, Poplar Avenue, Cordova, and South Haven. Your CBD Store, making it as easy for you as ABC CBD.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, then we hit fame. We beat you with the deal, we get in fame.
Final portion of this Thursday, brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai and, of course, Genesis of Olive Branch. That's where I love to do business. It's the way car business should be done, the way they take care of you. And then there's the Genesis cars. I think the finest of all the luxury cars on the planet. My G90, it's the best ride I've ever had. It's big, but it doesn't handle that way. Takes off like it's a sport car. And it's got all the bells and whistles, from seat warmers to air conditioners. Yeah, the seat coolers, I guess I should say. They got the steering wheel warmers. They've got different climate controls for every portion of the car. You can be in the back seat and you got your own radio thing. It's just amazing. And it's a lot cheaper than some other luxury cars that don't give you as much. Go see for yourself. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Take Lamar into Mississippi. It's Craft Road is the first exit. You turn left, and you'll see cars that are so good they give you a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Best place to do car business is Genesis of Olive Branch. It's time for Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
We'll take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
I
I learned today, confirmed once again, do not believe when the NFL talks about player safety. When you add games, you add risk. They care about personal injury law. You're suing them in a big class action. They do care about not wanting their employees injured. But when you add games, you add risk. The biggest thing they're concerned about, I don't blame them. They're in business. They want to make more money.
I don't know that they really added games. I guess you could make the technical argument they added 2 games. Because that's postseason. For that's
somebody they added games.
So that's 4 teams.
And that's competed at a high level.
Because the 17th regular season game, don't forget, they're taking away a meaningless
billionaires always win.
I learned today 901 FC has signed a former Premier League midfielder, Jose Baxter, signed with Memphis.
Who did he play for in the Premier League?
He played for Everton.
I don't have anything on Everton.
5 years he played with Everton. So now, as we get ready for this USL Championship season.
About 3 weeks, isn't it?
They've signed 18 guys. They've got 10 returnees. And I think Tim Howard, Tim McQueen, Peter Freund, Craig Unger, I think they're serious. I think they want to make the playoffs. Oh, and we should point out, since we just talked about Kyrie, Damian Lillard actually got good news. It looks like for the Portland Trailblazers, they're only going to miss 3 or 4. He's only going to miss 3 or 4 games.
That impacts the Memphis Grizzlies.
It does.
Could have done without the Major League Baseball Players Association. They could punish the players involved in the spying scandal and the video scandal. They don't have to wait for the management side to do it. They could do it because their own players were aggrieved by other players in it. Why don't they self-police some of the punishment? They're not about to do that, and we know why. Because they're in real solidarity always, and they're never going to deviate from it, and they're not even a real union. If they were a real union, they would go on strike when other unions went on strike.
That's right.
If the Teamsters went on strike.
They never go on strike for sympathy.
Never.
They expect you to do that if they go out.
They don't want those Teamsters delivering that beer to the stadium if they're picketing.
Exactly.
But they would never turn around and give them the same respect.
And give the beer people the same thing. You're absolutely right. It was interesting. You see today a little league team in right where they hold the World Series, right south of it.
In
Williamsport, but I think it was south of it, in a little town.
They're not going to be the Astros.
They banned Astros.
That'll show them.
They got 23 teams, so they're good. They can get away with it.
Did you see my chair kind of give it this on me? Do you notice that?
Oh, wow. I hope we got that on TV. You look very good.
Thank you.
That looked like a movie prop. Is that like the
I
air?
don't know what happened. It just got
out of the tires?
Kind of came out from under me.
I could have done it without the news. Roger Federer, knee scope.
No French.
No French Open. But you know what? He didn't play in the French Open last year. I don't think he wants to play in the French.
Surface.
It's really hard on his legs, too. He'll be ready
That's
for
my
grass.
favorite major.
French?
Because of the surface.
Yeah. It's fun to watch him slide around.
I'm going to keep a close eye tonight on the NBA, back with 6 games.
Grizzlies, Sacramento.
9 o'clock game.
Will you make it for the rest? For
the
whole game?
They got to keep me real interested. Keep me interested, Grizz, tonight. Interesting night in the Pac-12. A lot of bubble teams, a lot of really average teams. I think there will be 7 to 10 seed teams this year that all look about alike, maybe 4 to 10 even looking alike. AAC, interesting night.
Yeah, UConn Temple.
Volatile schedule there.
Yeah. I guess I got to be for Temple in that. That's pretty close. I don't know. That'll do it for us. Big day tomorrow, including Andy Schiffman at 5 o'clock. Always fun for us. See you tomorrow.
Everybody, love is in the air, and no one loves their customers more than our friends at All Star Chevrolet. Because if you would love to be in a new Chevy right now, Olive Branch is where you want to be. They have all the deals you'll love, like new 2020 Silverados with 0 for 72, plus thousands in customer cash. 0 for 72 with a new 2020 Equinox as well, plus thousands in cash when you finance with GM.